Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Percy Jackson reading Naruto vs Sasuke. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by ENGINEER forever and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. The Raymond Addicted Rationalist. So, we have a new one again. Percy asked as a book appeared before the group. Looks like it, Annabeth said as she picked the new book up. The only thing on the cover was a golden omega framed around a familiar red spiral. No real title, either. Aw man, when are we gonna finish the one with Apolludo in it? Apollo groaned. Artemis rolled her eyes. I told you not to touch the book, but did you listen? I'm the prophecy god. Looking ahead is what I do. Apollo pouted. Percy ignored the squabbling twins and frowned. If it's anything like that crazy one. Excuse me, Peter. Dionysus frowned. I don't even want to hear it. Percy continued, ignoring the god. Probably not his best decision, but that last one was wrong. Even if it did make Thalia sing. That was funny. Raymond Addicted Rationalist, yeah. Annabeth nodded while reading the title of the first page. That's Naruto. I guess I'll take a crack at it. I wonder whose kitty is this time? Hermes mused. Apollo just huffed while Artemis eyed. Not Apollo's. Quiet, please, Hestia said. For those just tuning in, it's 10 in the morning on June 1st, 2006. And now we turn to our weatherman Sharon Storm. Sharon, please tell me it's going to be a beautiful day today. Sorry, Steve, but we've got thunderstorms not only expected later today, but for the rest of the week. That's around the time I got poisoned. Thalia frowned. Zeus was very weepy at the time. Poseidon pointed out. I was not. The weather woman disagrees. Hades pointed out wittedly. Click. You can't just say things like that, Bones. Click. Bobbit season. Best gag ever. Hermes and Apollo snickered. Click. I don't know, what's a motto with? Click. The television screen went blank and the thumb that had been pressing down on the remote's channel button hovered while the owner watched the black screen. A blue line spread across the television and began to move when an obviously disguised voice came through the speakers along with Stars and Stripes Forever playing in the background. Everyone gave a salute to that. Citizens of these United States of America. The couch creaked as the television viewer set the remote down next to him and leaned forward. You have been lied to. Your government, the people you chose to lead and protect you, who you should trust without a shadow of a doubt, has been and continues to this very moment to lie to you. And? Zeus asked, a bored look on his face. This is hardly new. Hera rolled her eyes. Fingertips steepled together as Glaucus' eyes narrowed on the screen. So you chose to make a move today. Interesting. Who is our undescribed protagonist? Leo hummed in thought. It just baffles the mind. Hyper shook her head at his antics. Black operations continue to occur in several friendly allied countries. Terrorist cells given leeway when bargaining with our intelligence agencies. United States citizens being spied upon, every call monitored, every credit card charge checked. Your president boldly lies to you about what he knows and is even kept out of the loop to ensure he doesn't prevent unconfirmed acts of war. Boo. More war. Ares shook his fist in the air. No duh. Scoffed the viewer. He sat back and grabbed a small cell phone riddled with scratches, bite marks and even a red stain on the back. As his thumb glided over the phone's keypad, he snorted. I'm going to enjoy sending you to prison, Mr. Adam Mitchell. How does he know that? Percy blinked. He's got Spanish pesetas. Frank gasped. ESPN. Everyone just looked at Percy, who shrugged. What? It's a joke. He continued to get dubious looks. These are not acts of freedom. They are not acts promoting democracy. These are acts of terrorism to keep the world under the United States' control. Well, I won't have any more of it. There are 4 bombs. In New York City, yada yada yada. The television viewer sat back and held his phone to his ear. What? Percy gaped. Bombs. I like this guy. Ares grinned. You there? Good. Listen very carefully to what I have to say. There are no bombs. Yes, I'm sure. Send the police to a complex with a store at the base, a Pete's pawn shop, 3rd floor, 5th room down the hall on the right. Room 305, the zero is gone. He'll be on the toilet with an Alienware laptop. Alienware. Yes, it's a thing. Just look for the idiot on the toilet. Okay, how does he know that? Thalia frowned. Please, most of the greatest ideas were thought up on the toilet. Leo passionately declared. Apollo, Hephaestus and Hermes nodded in agreement to his declaration. Athena, if one looked closely, had a light golden flush in her cheeks. Ew, gross. The hunter wrinkled her nose. He hung up his phone and set it down next to him as he looked back at the television. They better catch this idiot. I practically gift-wrapped him for them. If the US government does not pay me and reveal the requested retracted documents, then you, the people that are lied to, will suffer for it. Because it's clearly their fault, Hades rolled his eyes. We sure this terrorist is not Zeus? The lightning god snarled at him. The story's only started. Hestia sighed. Okay, that was pretty clever, the television viewer said with a smirk. He sat back and looked at his wrist, where a grey watch was strapped. And in 5 minutes, I'll get to prove that I'm clever. The television screen went black once again, and the viewer shook his head as a newscaster tried to recover from the sudden hijacking of his airtime. A hand went up to scratch the back of his short honey blonde hair-covered head. The television viewer got up at the sound of a beeping and walked over to his stove in his studio apartment. His hand went to the dial and he turned off the stove. He poured the contents of his pot into a bowl and grinned as the steam rose up into his face. Hello, noodles of Inari. That's Naruto, everybody. Hazel giggled. There was a knock at the door and he turned to it with a grimace on his face. He looked back at his bowl and then to the door. With a frustrated growl, he moved his bowl into his microwave and then walked over to the door to open it. A man wearing a black suit stood on the other side of the door. His hair ended at his shoulders and was black like a raven's feathers. His face narrow and strong while his blood-red eyes had a hard and warlike gaze in them. Hey, it's Sasuke looking Ares-like. Hermes pointed out with a blink. Yes. Ninja brat is mine. Ares cackled. Hermes hummed. He doesn't look like a ninja. Damn it. Ares scowled. He never gets to have the ninja brats. You interrupted my noodle time, Sasuke. The dark brow on Sasuke's face arched up. You're practically naked, Naruto. Naruto looked down past his defined abdominal muscles to his boxers and then looked back up at Sasuke. It's my apartment, there's no law against being naked in my own home, is there, Special Agent Ichiha? A fed? I have a fed for a kid. Ares rubbed his chin. I could work with this. I'm just wondering how it even happened in the first place. Athena rolled her eyes. You love to take shots at me after I get promoted, don't you? Sasuke snorted and walked into the apartment, brushing past Naruto as he did. He shoved blankets off of the couch and plopped down on it, his eyes on the news, while Naruto went back to his microwave. So, how do you know where to find Soundwave? I don't have to book you again for being an accomplice, do I? That was one time and it wasn't like the charges stuck. Naruto rolled his eyes as he stirred his ramen with orange chopsticks. Naruto captured a few noodles with his utensils and brought them up to his mouth to slurp them down. With a blissful sigh, Naruto walked over and sat down on the other end of the couch. Alright, I know who he was, because the idiot pulled a similar stunt on his principal when he was in high school. He never changed his name then, nor did he change his password after he graduated. I knew he'd be on the toilet because there are few people in the country who don't feel secure when they're on the john. I knew he'd use his laptop because I had an old acquaintance of mine from the NSA pull some records. Well, he's super smart. I wonder whose kid he is. Percy said sarcastically. Annabeth beamed along with her mother as she continued to read. Sasuke blinked and furrowed his brows. How did you know who he was though? Stumbled across this plan on a private investigation a week ago. Wasn't supposed to happen until the 4th. Give it significance. Naruto rolled his eyes and slurped down more ramen. As though a bomb threat wouldn't make it memorable. The bomb's bursting in air, Apollo sang, but Artemis stopped him with a look. Okay, yeesh. Threats are easily forgotten. Yeah, I know. Still, the kid wanted to inform the people. Naruto scoffed and put more ramen in his mouth. The people do have a right to know, but that doesn't mean they want to, let alone are ready to. There are some things that are still too dark for the public to learn. Like gods? Nico asked aloud. We do have the mist for a reason, Nico. Hades told his son. Just saying is all. You know, if I wasn't sure you knew the code to my life savings and the checking account for my fiance's wedding, I'd have a warrant and I'd be looking into your so-called contacts. Sasuke noted as he looked around the small apartment. Why do you still live here? Naruto looked at him with noodles hanging out of his mouth. He slurped them up and shrugged. It's comfortable, functional and affordable. Your father is a millionaire. Sasuke drawled with a pointed look. Oh, Athena, rolling in the big bucks. Aphrodite squealed. I go for brains, not wealth. Athena corrected sternly. You could be in the penthouse suite of the Baxter building. That's not a real building. Doesn't count. Naruto lifted his bowl up to his mouth and slurped down the broth, which made Sasuke cringe in disgust. He lowered the bowl and sighed happily. Oh, Olympus, that's so good, and just because dad has money doesn't mean I want to use it. That's his. Still got daddy issues. Naruto glared at the smirking boy. You know, if I killed you right now, I could proclaim and make it look like it was in self-defense. I can do that. Annabeth nodded, which earned her wary looks from her friends. Percy especially. Yeah, but you won't. Sasuke chuckled and dusted his pants off as the news came to an end. I let you finish your ramen out of courtesy and our friendship. Come on, I've got a job for you. Naruto grimaced and set his bowl on the table beside him. A job? You make me sound like a mercenary. Call them cases, please. You're good, but you're not that good. Sasuke walked over to the door. Get dressed, you've got 5 minutes before I call a judge to get a warrant. Just ask your granddad. Ares thumbed to Zeus. Don't. The Skylord frowned. You do it anyway just for the hell of it. Naruto frowned. Sasuke stopped, turned around with a smirk on his face and reached into his jacket. He pulled a folded up piece of paper out and dropped it on the table beside the door. Naruto glared at him. Don't just drop it there, it'll get lost in the mess. Misplacing a federal warrant is a federal crime, you know. That wouldn't happen if you found someone to be the next Mrs. Namikaze to tidy the place up. Sasuke shut the door behind him as he walked out. Oh, why should the lady clean? Thalia frowned deeply. Many girls nodded in agreement. Sexist bastard. Naruto snorted and kicked the trunk that was repurposed into a coffee table. The lid opened and the papers that were sprawled across it slid to the floor. As Naruto rummaged through his clothes hidden within the trunk, he recalled Sasuke's words and rolled his eyes. I don't need to find anyone since you, Kushina and Dad keep trying to hook me up with random girls. Kushina must be the stepmother. Athena hummed, she didn't know what to think of this development. How can you listen to this guy rant and rave about capitalism like it's been sent from the gods? Naruto asked as he reached for the radio dial to turn off the raving John O'Malley. Sasuke, without taking his eyes off the road, reached over and slapped his hand. Naruto recoiled with a grimace. Ow. Ass. Driver rights. I control the radio. Unwritten law of courtesy when being a passenger in another's car, Sasuke said. Amen. Apollo nodded. He threw a glare at Hermes. It was one time. One time too many. Last time I bring you along as a wingman. He spared a glance over at his friend and shook his head. Those are the best clothes you could find. What's wrong with my clothes? Naruto frowned. He was dressed comfortably in faded and possibly used jeans, brown leather sandals, and an orange shirt with a cooked pie slice pulled back and various math symbols pouring out of it. Math. Percy hissed venomously. Okay, we've got to get you over this thing you have against math, Percy. Annabeth sighed. Liz Dobbs ruined it for me, forever. Excuses? Hades snorted. Must have gotten some from his father. Poseidon blinked. Ow. I don't have excuses. I have reasons. Zeus uses excuses. True. Zeus scowled at his brothers. I hate you both. Over his shirt was a brown leather jacket that fit to his build perfectly. You look like a child that just rolled out of bed. Naruto looked at Sasuke like he'd grown a second head. I'm 22. I'm barely older than you are and I'm dressed professionally, Sasuke said. When you're being leased out by the FBI. First of all, I'm not employed by the FBI, I work alongside the FBI, Special Agent Ichigo. Naruto corrected sternly. He drew his hand over his shirt. Secondly, these are the clothes of a modern college student, which I am. Online. Sasuke glared at him. You could get through any college class with ease, but you don't because you are without a doubt the laziest bastard I've ever met. The son of Athena. Lazy. Poseidon gasped. Say it isn't so. Oh, ha ha. Athena glared at him for his mockery. Still, she silently agreed that her version of Naruto could dress a bit sharper. Naruto pursed his lips for a moment and afterwards nodded as he conceded to that fact. He still crossed his arms and slumped down in his seat. I don't see why you're so mad. Sasuke turned to him when they stopped at a red light. You are purposely dragging your feet, Naruto. You know that the second you graduate from college, your name and your doctorate will wind you up as prime material to receive praise from your mother. That's bad. Annabeth frowned. She'll send you the coin. Oh, yeah, that's bad. The young blonde nodded in agreement. Athena just looked put out by this. She's not going to send me the coin, Naruto said with a roll of his eyes. And the reason I've been dragging my feet is because I'm waiting for today's technology to catch up with my father's work so that my theoretical studies and equations can be made practical and I can actually do some good for the planet. Captain Planet? Thalia asked. He is a hero, Piper said with a smirk. Leo chuckled. Is he going to take pollution down to zero? So not funny. Annabeth told her friends with a frown as they laughed. Yeah, sure. Sasuke looked away as the light changed. They drove in silence for a moment before Naruto smirked and looked at Sasuke. Kushina put you up to that, didn't she? She blackmailed me. Threatened to help my fiancé pick a wedding date. Sasuke grumbled. Truly, commitment is Ares' greatest fear. Hades rolled his eyes. Next to jars. Those things are messed up. Ares declared sternly. I like pickles, Frank said. Right out of the jar. Ares glared at him. You are dead to me. He tapped the phone set on the dash and it turned off. Speaker was on. Ah, you played a CD to hide the background noise on her end. Very clever, Special Agent Uchiha, Naruto said with a chuckle. He relaxed in his seat with a smile on his face and glanced out the window. He blinked when they passed a street sign that he hadn't gone past in several years. Where exactly is this case? Sasuke shifted slightly in his seat. Just a bit outside the city. He's not lying. Apollo nodded. Sneaky, how fun. Hermes snickered. Didn't think Ares could be sneaky. Naruto swiveled back to glare at Sasuke. Outside the city where? Look, don't worry about it. Why don't you recline the seat and take a quick nap? Keep that freaky mind of yours nice and rested for the case, Sherlock. Sasuke gave his friend a small grin and turned back to the road. Naruto didn't blink. His glaucous eyes narrowed suspiciously and an intimidating glare was locked on his friend. That's Athena's glare all right. Dionysus commented as he opened a new can of Diet Coke. Sasuke. Sasuke made the mistake of looking at his blonde friend. He looked back at the road and had to slam on the brakes to keep from rear-ending the car in front of him. He glanced back at Naruto. It's just a small job. I've got another case I'm already working on. Naruto sat back and looked at the road as the light turned green. You can take me home. That is bullshit and we both know it. Sasuke's red eyes gained a rare pleading gleam. Just take a look at it. I don't want anything to do with that place. They're outdated, foolish, and hormonal children. He's of course talking about you lot. Dionysus sniffed. And I agree with him wholeheartedly. Not to mention the notion of heroism is completely irrational, Naruto scoffed. Look at yourself. You dropped out of high school and enlisted to be a hero. Now you suffer from PTSD, which has caused you to delay your own wedding out of fear that your own wife-to-be would be put in danger or her heart would be crushed by your own demise. Ouch, that sucks. Ares frowned, he was a bit upset for his own kid. How was he supposed to get legacies if his kid didn't procreate? That's not the point. Not to mention their own stupidity when it comes to the words good and evil. I think I found my second favorite. Mr. D smiled widely. His favorite version would always be his Naruto. It's for Chiron, Naruto. Sasuke cut his friend off with a frustrated yell. Naruto turned to look at him and Sasuke exhaled sharply as he relaxed his grip on the wheel. He's calling in his one request. Something's happened. Naruto frowned and narrowed his eyes. Tell me what you know. He got fired. Percy frowned at Zeus. The god glared back at him. It all worked out in the end, honestly. Why was Poseidon's brat on keeping that fire going? Wasn't that supposed to be the shtick of Hades' kids? Naruto slammed the passenger door shut and walked up to the archway that hung over the dirt road that led into the strawberry fields. He looked across the hood of the car at Sasuke. I hate you. I'm a federal agent. You hating me means I'm doing my job. Sasuke nodded towards the dirt road. Get walkin', owlhead. Naruto shook his head. Cabin 5 has the worst insults for people. I know, Percy right. So dumb. Percy mocked. So bad that it's good. Ares corrected with a smirk. Percy. It was a shorter walk than he remembered, most likely due to his growth over the years. He remembered the first time his dad and stepmother dropped him off. He was 14 at the time and had just fought off his first monster, a cyclops. It was a stupid thing, easily tricked to ripping out its own eye with its hand to prove that there was a large brain behind it. That's scary cunning, Reina said. Tricking a cyclops to the point of killing itself. Words truly carried power. Of course, his father had to tell him about his mother and Kushina started to look up various bodyguards, all of whom Naruto dispatched of with ease, though he was a bit short on his inheritance now due to the hospital bills his father made him pay. What? He was a master at short staff and was a much smarter fighter. He didn't need some ex-jarhead to protect him. Demigods can have bodyguards. Leo gasped. I've seen it a few times in New Rome, Jason said. He shrugged. Some of the families don't get along. Politics. Reina groaned. Oh shit. Sasuke's hushed exclamation made Naruto glance at him and then back at the object his friend's red eyes were locked on. Dahlia's pine, the source of the protective barrier around the area, stood tall at the top of Half-Blood Hill, but it was not proud by a long shot. Look at the rot on the bark. Naruto observed as he drew closer. He rushed ahead and began to inspect the pine. He crouched down to the base with an intrigued hum. Naruto pointed at the base and looked to Sasuke. There, see that? I very much do. Demeter nodded, which got her odd looks from her family. What? The dirt? Sasuke asked, disinterestedly. Come on, we have to meet Chiron. Not yet. Open your eyes. Observe. Be the sniper you were trained to be. A sniper? Epic. Ares grinned. Naruto said. He pointed insistently at the base. Do you see it? Sasuke rolled his eyes and crouched down next to his friend. Red eyes scanned the grass and bark, but before he was about to dismiss the scene, he noticed something. The roots aren't visible. Exactly, Naruto said. He put his hand on the bark and easily chipped some away. Hey. Thalia frowned deeply. He pulled away some of her bark. Not cool. This pine is rotting, dying as it were, but like all living things, it's trying to prolong its life by sending its roots deeper to get more nutrients. This causes the tree's base to sink into the ground, but the rot is being noticed. Look here, nature's workers are already starting to make a home. Fight on, Thalia. Demeter cheered. I lived. The hunter drawled. I know, but still, your other is clearing fighting back. Good work. Sasuke watched a few ants scurry out of the hole in the tree and frowned. What does this mean? That things are a lot worse than what you've told me. Frankly, I'm surprised I wasn't brought in. The barrier was brought down. It's offensive, actually. Naruto pursed his lips. And there's the hubris. Percy muttered. His words got a pout from Annabeth. Well, I didn't want to risk you saying no. The two young men looked up at the sound of the voice. A creature with the body of a white stallion walked up to them. From where his neck would be was a human torso, dressed smartly like a professor, but with a quiver and bow on his back. By the appearance of the man's face, he could easily be mistaken for a middle-aged man. He had dark brown hair and a neatly trimmed beard. Tyron, Sasuke said as he stood up. Tyron gave him a small smile. Mr. Uchiha. He goes by Special Agent Uchiha, actually, Naruto said. He stood and gave the centaur a look from the corner of his eyes before he looked back at the tree. How long ago did the barrier fall? Right business, not even a hello. Piper frowned. He's working. Annabeth protested. Still. A week ago, Chiron said. The year-round campers have been holding their own well enough, but the gods are furious. Yes, I think Zeus would be rather upset at the poisoning of his daughter's pine, Naruto said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Mr. Namikaze, cell phones are not allowed. I'm well over your limits of authority, Chiron, Naruto said with a small glare. He looked back at his phone and proceeded to take several pictures with it. He just doesn't care about the monsters. Jason asked. More like he can take care of them. Hazel pointed out if his first encounter with a monster was anything to go by. He pocketed his phone and looked to Sasuke. You should go talk to some of Demeter's children as well as Mr. D, find out what he's been doing about this. Sasuke grimaced. Do I have to? I know, talking to him about anything other than a party is a snore. Apollo shook his head. Dionysus huffed. It's not my fault you don't have anything interesting to talk about. You're the G-man, Sasuke, Naruto said. He put a hand on his chest and smirked. I'm just a consultant. I was told you were a private investigator, Chiron said, his brows furrowed. Naruto rolled his eyes. A gross understatement. That would imply I dig through trash, stalk people, spy, and plant evidence. He so does. Hermes snickered. Athena glared at Hermes for the comment. My child would not. Sasuke's eyes twinkled and he smirked. You do all of those things. You were saying? Hermes asked. Athena hardly looked ruffled. Well, perhaps it isn't for cases, but for his employers. Right, Apollo, verdict. Apollo blinked. What? I don't know this, Naruto. How am I supposed to know if he's telling the truth? Don't you have a god to interrogate? Sasuke's smirk fell and he glowered at the blonde. I hate you. I'm a consultant, you hating me means I'm doing my job, Naruto said with a smirk. The two's eyes met, both locked in a silent battle of will for several minutes. Naruto's smirk widened slightly and Sasuke growled before he shoved past the blonde. It's like watching Annabeth and Clarice. Percy blinked in slight awe. Just, friendlier. Annabeth wasn't sure how to process that, so she focused on reading. Tyron chuckled as Sasuke grumbled under his breath while he walked towards the camp. The centaur turned to Naruto and gave him a small smile. I cannot express how grateful I am that you came, Naruto. The camp. I'm not here for the camp, Chiron. Naruto looked the centaur in the eyes, a frown on his face. You're taking the fall for something that isn't your fault. Lord Zeus's anger. Look, I know that'll appease the kiddies in their cabins, but being the noble dying teacher is not going to work. Without you, there is no reason for Camp Half-Blood to exist. He's got a point. Apollo nodded along with the rest of the gods. Zeus shifted uncomfortably at that. Why couldn't people just let things go? Tyron looked ready to protest, but Naruto held his hand up. Save it. You died once already for Prometheus. We can't afford you dying again. Tyron blinked and a smile spread across his face. That's certainly the most affectionate thing you've ever said to me. Naruto rolled his eyes and waved the centaur off. Affection nothing. It's only logical to keep the best trainer around to ensure the survival of any future progenies of the gods. If anyone should recognize that, it's Zeus. Oath on the sticks be damned. Really, why did we blame Chiron? Hermes asked. Zeus pointed to Dionysus. What? The wine god asked with a look of offense. I wasn't going to get more years stacked against me. So you blame the one who actually runs it? Athena mocked him. Dionysus shrugged. Better him than me. And I didn't hear him complaining. You should watch what you say, Chiron warned as they started to walk into camp. The gods are fallible, illogical, more human than they would like to admit. We are not. Zeus frowned. The demigods coughed a few times at his comment. The gods looked at them as they offered innocent faces. Naruto chuckled lightly as he slipped his hands into his jacket's pockets. Hera gets jealous. Artemis hates men. Zeus becomes angry when his daughter is killed, implying he loved her. Ares enjoys slaughter and warfare. Emotions, you know, it's very human. Percy nodded. The gods looked grumpy at this. They weren't human. They ruled humans. And human emotions. What are you saying, Naruto? Chiron asked, intrigued and a bit unnerved. The sky seemed a bit darker than it was before. Don't play dumb, Chiron. You suck at it. Naruto snorted. The gods have become complacent with their status as hidden, they've assimilated into humanity, even if they try to keep themselves high and mighty, distant from us. Personally, I think it all started when Zeus ate Metis, he let paranoia fear overrule his judgment, which as king, should be infallible. Hermes whistled. Shots fired. Zeus looked stony at this. Percy nodded. Guy's got guts, I'll give him that. The other demigods silently agreed, but also made note that Naruto was making some good points. So you believe the gods of Olympus are human? Why do you insist on having me repeat myself? Yes, the gods today are no better than humanity. In fact, I would dare say their reactivity has made them worse for the planet, Naruto said. The sky rumbled and he rolled his eyes. From a logical standpoint, I'm not wrong. Zap me if you want, you won't make me change my mind. Yes, Zeus, you can't scare everyone's opinion away. And you can't make everyone like you by sinking them to the bottom of the sea, the lighting god said to Poseidon. Boys, not now. Hestia frowned at them. This Naruto was making a lot of sense to her, and that was frightening. You certainly enjoy tempting him, Chiron said. Naruto reached into his shirt and pulled out a silver necklace of a multi-armed human. Do you know what this is? This is a representation of an Asura, an anti-god. The Asuras became proud and vain, believing themselves above ancient law, and were called evil for their acts. Oh. What did they do? Ares asked eagerly. Their relatives, the Devas, took it upon themselves to keep the Asuras from influencing mankind through endless war. Awesome. Ares cheered. Hera just cradled her face. Where did she go wrong? Very interesting, but why are you wearing a symbol of evil? Chiron asked. It's not evil. Naruto looked at the necklace before he tucked it back into his shirt. The idea of good and evil are inventions of mankind, created to define what is helpful to survival and what is not. If the Asuras were never labeled as evil, perhaps humanity wouldn't have made it as long as they did. Or perhaps the Asuras became too involved with the endless war and we never learned their true reason for seeking out information. You still didn't tell me why you wear it, Chiron pointed out. Naruto shrugged and slipped his hands back into his pockets. The Asuras weren't afraid to investigate what had been deemed holy and forbidden. Granted it was to increase their own power, but they stood together, seeking out answers, whereas closed-minded divas remained within the bounds of the laws, afraid to explore. Athena hummed. She didn't see anything truly wrong with that really. They reminded her a bit of Prometheus, but other than that the Asura sounded similar to herself. She frowned, did that make her evil in the eyes of the followers? The Asura had a desire to expand their knowledge without fear of punishment. They were straightforward and honest with their desires. Basically, they were six-armed immortal versions of you, Chiron deduced. Naruto smirked at the centaur. Of course. Chiron shook his head and nodded towards a cabin off to the side. Perhaps you should drop in and say hello. Pass. Naruto grimaced and walked briskly past the gray building with an owl above the door. Oh, tension? Hazel asked. Maybe. Annabeth frowned. She didn't like the sound of that. Come on, I want to see Sasuke sweat while he tries to interrogate Mr. D. You are a horrible person. I'm part human, what did you expect? Besides, I need to get back at him somehow. Such a cruel kid you got, Athena. Ares chuckled. Where do you think she gets it from? Poseidon added. Ares nodded. Point. Athena did her best to ignore them while her father scowled. And furthermore, Mr. Kaicha, if I so much as hear you insinuate my sons had anything to do with the sudden increase in Chiron. Finally, would you tell this blasted brat to get out of my face? A portly man turned away from the annoyed Sasuke to face the centaur as he entered the big house. I guess he isn't a fan of cops. Nico sniggered. Too many DUIs. Hermes winked at the boy as Dionysus purpled in the face. His eyes landed on the blonde that was looking around the living room. You? Naruto lifted his hand up in greeting with a hapless smile on his face. Hello Mr. D. Sasuke, did you get anything from him? I told him I was investigating on behalf of the FBI and he went all psycho-paranoid on me, Sasuke said with a glower. He walked over to Naruto and punched him in the shoulder. That was for sending me to the wolves. Do I look like Artemis to you, Sanjay? You Sasuke finished despite Mr. D's interruption. Percy agreed, you just had to ignore the god. He tried to do that every time. Naruto just continued to smile while he rubbed his arm. This is why you run cases by me before you put me in your car. I had a warrant for you to come with me. Written and authorized by your mother, Naruto said as he reached into his back pocket and unfolded the paper. He hummed as he pretended to look at it closely. She also wants me to convince you to pick a date for your wedding. Sasuke's nostrils flared and he snatched the paper out of Naruto's hands. His red eyes scanned the words before his cheeks began to match his eyes. He crumpled the warrant in his hand and stormed out, grumbling under his breath as he did. Athena let out a pleased sigh. It was always nice to see her children put Ares's in their place. Naruto watched him leave before he turned back to the two heads of the camp with a wide smile on his face. I love doing that. Not bad. You seem to have gotten more tolerable, Mr. D said as he made a can of Diet Coke appear out of thin air. Like I said, I'm warming up to the boy. Mr. D smirked. Why are you back? Naruto glanced at Chiron and then looked back at Mr. D. It's a favor. I'm shrewd, Chiron. Very shrewd, Mr. D said with a smirk. He plopped down in a chair and relaxed. So, are you going to try and beg me to let Chiron stay? You'd be the fourth returnee to do so. I had the other three scampering off to the woods after I turned them into sniveling weasels. Had to change them back, though I wonder how Athena will react to you being a new barn owl. I would be very displeased. Athena glared at the god of wine. Oh well, worth a shot. Dionysus shrugged. Mr. D. Chiron gave the god a disappointing frown. Mr. D rolled his eyes and held up 2 fingers. You have 2 minutes. You enjoy this far too much. Apollo muttered. Dionysus grinned. I truly do. Naruto looked at Chiron, who shrugged and then looked back to Mr. D, his hands folded. Very well, I'll be blunt then. The poisoning wasn't Chiron's fault. Mr. D arched a brow. That was quick. And how are you so sure? Chiron was most likely within the big house or the barrier when it went down, Naruto said. The barrier source was pierced by celestial metal, a bronze blade to be precise. Easily obtainable here or at any grown demigod's home. The poisoner never went into the camp, they didn't have to. He or she was familiar with the source of the defensive barrier. Percy and Annabeth frowned at this and remembered Selena. It just wasn't fair that she died, but at least she was with Beckendorf now. Monsters are too dumb to sniff around, Mr. D wards them off, Chiron said, his arms crossed. So how would they know the security? You say that like humans can't be monsters as well, Naruto pointed out. Spot on, Athena nodded as Aphrodite frowned at this. My baby was not a monster. She let a man twist her for his needs. Artemis countered, earning a hurt and hateful look from Aphrodite. Score 1 for the brain baby, Mr. D said with a smirk. He took a sip of his Diet Coke. Thank you. Naruto nodded to the god and then crossed his arms. I believe our poisoner had an informant. The traitor. Perhaps I can persuade their parent to let me punish them, Dionysus said with a smirk. No. Aphrodite glared at Dionysus. Dionysus eyed. I never to get to do anything fun. What if it was Castor or Pollux? Naruto asked. He didn't flinch as Mr. D glared at him, but he did shrug. It's possible. Being with daddy for every day of the year while he spouts hate at demigods, causing confusion when he shows them love. Dionysus frowned. I take it back, I don't like him. I don't like your insinuations, Mr. Name Kanji, Mr. D said with a warning tone. I'm just giving a plausible motive, Mr. D, I wasn't stating the facts. Naruto placated. I'm sure the twins haven't done anything more than simple breaking and entering while on their vacations to visit their maternal grandmother. How does he know that? Leo asked. He knows many things. Frank told him. He even knows how many squares of toilet paper you use, Piper added with a smirk. That's scary. Leo frowned. And weird. Are you stalking my sons? Mr. D's face started to turn purple. The point, Mr. D, is that any camper of all cabins is a suspect. Naruto elaborated. That seemed to calm the god as his face returned to normal. Now, Sasuke told me there was an incident last summer. Mr. D huffed and looked at Chiron. Was there? Percy rolled his eyes. That was typical Mr. D for you. Yes, Mr. D, Chiron sighed. Before he left, Percy Jackson. Son of Poseidon, age 12, son of Sally Jackson, a woman who works at Sweet on America and attends nightly college classes. Recently, she came into some money when a likeness of her missing husband Gabe Ugliano was sold. She's notably well known and liked by her co-workers and loves her son. Naruto interrupted. I feel uncomfortable now. Percy admitted. Same. Poseidon frowned. The two older men stared at him and Naruto shrugged. Missing persons case, I was intrigued. I might have lost some very sensitive information on the case though. After all, who cares about what happens to a gambling addict that drinks cheap alcohol and abuses his wife? Percy and Poseidon gained stormy looks at the reminder. Annabeth sighed as she read between the lines. He figured out what happened to Gabe, but let your mom get away with it. Percy's stormy look brightened. I like this Naruto. Due in 1 century, Athena is on a roll. Poseidon agreed. Well, despite your rude assumption about my sons, I think I'm starting to like you, Mr. D said with a wry smirk. He sat back and looked at his can of Diet Coke. I'm sure Poseidon will be very grateful that Ms. Jackson won't be bothered by this Gabe fellow anymore. Aphrodite says he still loves the woman. Honestly, Poseidon. Hera shook her head as the sea god looked flustered. Naruto gave Chiron an I told you so look. Chiron ignored the look and continued. Yes, well, Percy Jackson was attacked and poisoned by one of the former counselors. Former counselor? What cabin? Naruto asked. Lincoln CAT scan, Mr. D said with a nod. They scanned Lincoln's brain. Apollo looked interested at this. Hermes laughed dryly. Funny, dude. Yeah, I'm awesome. Apollo agreed as he missed the sarcasm. Luke Castellan. Chiron corrected with a shake of his head. That's what I said. Naruto rubbed his chin and began to pace. Really? Interesting. He's gone, then. Yes, Percy was poisoned by a pit scorpion and decided. No, I don't care about him. Naruto waved off the centaur. Luke Castellan I knew something was wrong with him after his quest. I knew. I should have jumped on it then. Perhaps then I wouldn't have gotten that letter. So, he was sending out party invites. Leo cocked his head. Yeah, for the worst cruise ever. Percy nodded. The Titanic was the worst cruise, Percy. Poseidon corrected. Luke's boat blew up. Percy muttered, that was worse than hitting an iceberg. Letter? Chiron asked. Naruto looked up. You mean, you haven't heard? Chiron frowned. Heard what? Spit it out so I can shoo you away. Mr. D demanded. Naruto hummed and went to the wall of the big house and stared at a picture of a blonde boy, a blonde girl, and a satyr seated next to the poison tree. Someone is recruiting demigods for an army. He looked at Chiron and Mr. D before he turned back to the picture, focusing on the smiling boy. And I think I know who it is. Well, don't leave us in suspense, Thalia said grumpily. This makes no sense at all, Chiron said as he followed Naruto out of the big house. I mean, I know Luke Castellan. He was happy. He loved camp. Herm's kids are good at lying. Apollo pointed out. Dude, Hermes glared at his brother. Just saying the truth. He's a son of Hermes, lying is in the blood. See? Smart Naruto agrees with me. Hermes slumped at that. Naruto said as he made his way towards the cabin of the god in question. Are you telling me you didn't believe Percy Jackson? Chiron looked slightly ashamed. Well, I hoped it to be a practical joke gone wrong. You know how some children of Hermes get. I'm pretty sure I said what Luke told me. Percy frowned. Chiron just wishes it was all a lie, Percy. Can you blame him? Thalia asked. Percy sighed. I guess I can't. Point taken. However, you let your fondness of the experienced demigod cloud your judgment. What is it with Greek judgment being so easily misled? Zeus. Any thoughts? Hades asked in a mock serious tone. To the pit with you, Hades. I'm already its neighbor. The underworld king shrugged. Naruto asked with a frown, pursing his lips and wondering if he'd made similar mistakes. Please, Naruto, watch your words, Chiron said with a sigh. He looked at his watch. I have to go, I have an archery class to teach. Naruto stopped and looked at the centaur. Chiron, I'm not blaming you for this. You shouldn't either. Luke was very charismatic when I knew him, I can only assume that it grew along with him. He talked me into helping him cheat on one of your history tests once. Slick. Hermes whistled with praise as Athena frowned. I always wondered why he got that A+. Chiron frowned. He sighed and shook his head. Well, if I wasn't going to be fired before, I certainly am now. Only this time, Poseidon will be backing his brother's decision. I wouldn't do that. Poseidon frowned. Naruto frowned. You're afraid of losing this job. Speak up for yourself, Zeus will listen to you if you explain yourself. Oh, we've tried, but it never really works out. Apollo grimaced. You needed to be punished, Zeus huffed. Barry gained a sour look at that. And let his wrath fall on these campers. On a boy that is misguided. No, Naruto, I won't let that happen. Even if I am afraid of the outcome. Chiron said firmly. That's Chiron, worrying more for the brats. Dionysus sighed and sipped his soda. Such a waste. Fear is a necessary evil Pandora released on man. It is said that the gods released it to curse mankind, to punish them. Naruto turned and resumed his trek towards Hermes' cabin. I believe it was done to ensure they survived by any means necessary. Fear makes us human, it lets us live. Nico nodded. Jason grinned. This coming from Mr. Spooky himself. I'll haunt you, Grace. I swear. Nico glared at the son of Jupiter, but there was no heat behind it. Thank you for your words of support, Mr. Namicus. Chiron nodded and turned to go to his lesson. Naruto looked up at the cabin. It hadn't changed since his last time at camp, which didn't bode well for the occupants within. He was annoyed by the sounds of chatter that he could hear from outside and sighed. Naruto knocked on the cabin door. Counselor, I'm here on request from Chiron. Open up. The chatter got louder, which made Naruto shift slightly in annoyance. He looked up, counted down from 10, and then knocked on the door. I'm only going to ask one more time, please open the door. Hermes' cabin. The camp half-blood campers, Nico and Thalia included, said. Hermes palmed his face. Oh, this is going to suck. Big time. Ares snickered. He leaned forward. I can't wait. The noise amazingly got louder and Naruto looked up at the sky. Hermes, I hope you realize that while I do condone lying, I don't condone poisoning. So he kicked the cabin door open and all noise stopped. Kids, a good few mischievously grinning at him, looked from all bunks. Naruto arched a brow. Oh, it's all fun and games until you're obstructing justice. I'm with the FBI. Yeah right, one kid said with a disbelieving snort, turning back to his card game. Hit me. They are so going to get owned. Percy snickered. He loved Cabin 11, but they could be a bit much with their pranks. He's not lying. Naruto looked over at Sasuke as he walked up the cabin steps. Sasuke gave Naruto a frown. What have I said about kicking down doors? It's fun and to let you do it. Naruto returned. Sasuke continued to frown and Naruto rolled his eyes before he pointed into the cabin. Show them the badge. Sasuke reached into his jacket and pulled out his badge, letting it fall open. That made all the grins fall. Oh no, not Juvie again. That's not funny. Hermes frowned at the laughing Leo. Two identical teenage boys' eyes widened considerably and they rushed the door. Naruto and Sasuke stopped them by holding their arms out, making them grunt and fall to the ground. Naruto and Sasuke kept them pinned with their feet on the boys' chests. Now that's teamwork. Jason whistled in praise. They moved wordlessly and in practice sync. Very effective. Reina nodded. Almost super effective. Leo asked. No. Reina told him. Leo frowned. At least play along. We didn't do it. One of the boys cried out. It was just one radio. The other exclaimed. Maybe some CDs. It was only a few $100. Connor was the one who came up with the idea. Travis was the one who picked the lock. Hermes just cradled his face in embarrassment. Oh, they're idiots. Yep. Ares grinned. You're not one to talk. Hermes muttered. What the hell are you two talking about? Sasuke asked. The two teenagers looked at each other and then back at the older men. The one that first spoke gave Naruto and Sasuke a suspicious look. You're not here about the apartment break-in on 24th Street. Naruto looked at Sasuke. I told you that was a two-man job. Oh us, kill me, Hermes said in pure shame. His kids were supposed to be slick. Wow, didn't know they could cave so quickly. Piper said in surprise. Shut up, Naruto. Sasuke rolled his eyes. He looked at the two. So, who are you supposed to be? The one with a loose mouth was shut up by the other's hand. We know our rights. We don't have to talk to you if we don't want to or without a lawyer. We're not here to arrest anyone, Naruto said. Sasuke frowned at him and he shrugged. Honor amongst thieves, it's only logical to let them know that we're here for information only. Information? That made the one teen covering the other's mouth asked. What do we get out of it? How about not getting arrested for admitting to breaking and entering, theft, and assaulting a federal agent? Sasuke asked. We didn't admit to anything. Wow Herm, just wow. Apollo laughed. Shut up. Hermes said bitterly. You alluded to breaking into the apartment. Naruto pointed out. He looked at the other kids, who were watching the scene with interest and then back down at the two. And you admitted to stealing one radio, several CDs, money who knows what else. What about assaulting a federal agent? The boy asked with a frown. Sasuke looked to Naruto as he held his arm and rolled his shoulder. I don't know, Naruto, do you think it was dislocated? Hermes pointed at the image accusingly. That is abuse of the law. I see nothing wrong with it. Zeus rumbled. So says the god of justice. Ares grinned. Suck it, speed stick. Hermes was horrified that his father was taking Ares' side. Could have been, but I'm not osteologist. Naruto shrugged. Never found it interesting. Sasuke tilted his head. I thought you liked bones. I love bones. Annabeth gave a small gushing grin. Me too. Nico smiled. They looked at each other. Marathon. Heck yeah. Oh great. Percy muttered to himself. He was so going to be sucked into watching that show. He shuddered. Those remains were so wrong. The murders are interesting, the science of bone study is not. And besides, Naruto shrugged again. Emily Deschanel is hot. Sasuke nodded. That's true. Okay, we'll talk. Can we get up now? Not yet. Names. Don't play with me either. Sasuke's red eyes glared into the boy's blue ones. Well. I'm Travis Stoll, and this is my brother Connor, Travis said as he pulled his hand off of Connor's mouth. For the record, Travis ran into you. Aw, selling each other out. Classic brotherly fun. Apollo smiled. Ares glared at him. He was still taking the blame for key-scratching Zeus's chariot. Nike was psycho about that. Dude. What? I'm not taking the fall for you. Oh, so glad to see how much I'm loved. My own brother, ladies and gentlemen. Boys. Sasuke had them looking back up at him. About that information. What do you want to know? Connor asked. He looked at the sandal on his foot and looked up at Naruto. Wow, pedicure much? Ares busted a gut at that as Athena glared at him. There is nothing wrong with well-groomed feet. Yeah, just girly is all. Ares snorted. Girls like a man who can groom nicely. Aphrodite smirked to her boyfriend. This made him stop laughing. I got Jason to do it, Piper said with a nod. Piper? Jason hissed with a red face as his guy friends looked at him. Jason shifted before he admitted. It was very nice. Oh gods, Jason. Thalia shook her head, unsure whether to laugh or cry. But hygiene goes a long way. Naruto lifted his foot off of the boy and Sasuke did the same for his stole. Tell us about Luke Castellan. Why? Travis asked, both boys still intimidated by the FBI agent. We think he may have something to do with the barrier being down, Naruto said. Hey, whoa, Luke's not me blood, but he's still a brother. You've got to up the ante a bit to make us talk, Connor said. He gasped as the foot slammed back down on his chest. Hard. A few kids made to get up, but Sasuke deterred them by opening his jacket and showing the uncapped 9mm strap to his hip. Might not be a sword, but still guns are scary. Ares smiled. Why don't we use guns? Percy asked. Because minors with guns are apparently bad. Ares threw his arms in the air. Give a teen a sword or spear or something lame like a bow and arrow, and that's fine. But a gun? No. Connor gasped again when Naruto started to grind his heel into his chest. Point taken. Please get off. I knew you'd see it my way, Naruto said as he lifted his foot off of Connor's chest once more. When's the last time you saw Luke? Last summer. Travis looked at Connor, who nodded in agreement. They looked back up at the older demigods. Yeah, he's been off the radar since then. We got a letter, but it didn't mean anything. Just invited us to a yacht he found. The Princess Andromeda. Percy frowned at the nightmare cruise. Found? Right, where was this yacht? Sasuke asked as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a notebook and pen. Our letter said to go to the coast of South Carolina, Connor said. He and Travis got off the ground. Anything else? Who was Luke particularly close to? Naruto asked. Anyone he spoke with a lot. Girlfriends. Boyfriends. That one would have made a little Annabeth cry. Aphrodite tittered as Annabeth flustered. I wouldn't have. Thalia frowned. Of course not. The love goddess rolled her eyes at the girl's denial. What a waste. Travis and Connor curled their upper lips along with many other boys in the room. Even Sasuke gave Naruto an odd look. Naruto looked around and arched a brow. What? The Greeks have been practicing same-gender intercourse well since time began. Apollo and Zephyrus are two well-known practitioners from the pantheon, so I don't see why it wouldn't be prudent to ask, Naruto said. Amen. Naiko nodded. Apollo gave a thumbs up in approval to this. Okay, I stopped understanding after intercourse. Travis admitted. He gave Naruto an odd look before he looked at Sasuke. I don't know about any girlfriends, but he talked to Annabeth Chase a lot and I think Selena Borgard had a crush on him. What? Oh, man, not Selena, Connor groaned. Figures, pretty boys get all the chicks. Sasuke smirked as he wrote down the names. Yeah, we do. Apollo snorted. First pretty boy Ares ever had. He's got the more rough handsome types. Aphrodite nodded in agreement. Once in a blue moon. The war god shrugged. And a lot of guys. Naruto smirked at the glare Sasuke gave him. What? Travis and Connor took a step back from the special agent, who continued to glare at his consultant and friend. I hate you so much. Naruto shrugged. Whatever. He looked at the twins. So, what cabin? Annabeth's. Naruto held a hand up. I know that one. Where's Selena? Interrogation time. Artemis smiled. Oh, a steamy one. Aphrodite thought out loud. Ugh, really? They're hot scenes. The love goddess informed. Plus, role play is fun. Too much, Mom. Piper gagged. How do you know Annabeth but not Selena? Connor asked as he gave Naruto a look like he had just sprouted another head. Seriously? When did you come here? Stopped coming to camp when I was 16. How old are you? Early 20s obviously. Athena rolled her eyes. Orgard. Location. Give it. Sasuke grunted. Haben 10. She's the counselor, can't miss her, Travis said. Thank you. Naruto turned and stuffed his hands in his pockets, prepared to leave. After Sasuke stepped out, Naruto stopped and turned back to the twins. Oh, and you might want to get the door hinges fixed. Naruto grunted as he and Sasuke walked to the pink cabin across the way. Stop it. Stop what? Sasuke asked. Thinking. It's loud and annoying. Yeah, we can see the steam coming out of ears. Percy grinned. Funny, the same happens to you. Annabeth pointed out teasingly as she turned the page. Percy pouted. Hurtful. You're not concerned about speaking to her? Sasuke asked. Naruto groaned. I don't want to talk about it. Seems there is some tension is in the air. Hazel hummed. The plot thickens. I met my cabin's new counselor. Clarice. Tough girl, worked hard putting watch shifts together. Could be a good ranger if she ever went into the service, Sasuke said. It helps to get to know the next generation. My mother's head counselor is nearly half my age and has only obtained that right because of her so-called experience. Naruto interrupted with a grimace on his face. She's smart, I will admit that, and she either got very lucky or divine intervention to bring her to her group. Athena frowned while Annabeth flushed as it was true. She's also extremely proud. Her fatal flaw is undoubtedly hubris. She refuses to listen to reason, even when she knows it's the smartest thing to do, because of some sense of morality. Shots fired. Leo. Annabeth glared as she continued to read in a grumpy mood. Stupid older brother she could listen to advice when she was younger. Don't you have morals you live by? Sasuke asked. That's different. She is a child and refuses the advice of someone older who has seen the world for what it is, Naruto said. He shook his head as they approached the cabin of Aphrodite's children. Annabeth Chase may be smart when it comes to the world of Greek demigods, but she is an utter fool when it comes to the real world. Slap to the face. Ares laughed as Annabeth looked both embarrassed and angry. The young man makes a surprising amount of good sense. Hera nodded in agreement. Of course you would say that. Athena noted scathingly. It's not my fault your children are overly proud, Athena, to the point where they make mistakes. The wisdom goddess glared at her stepmother for her words. Depends on your definition of the real world, Sasuke said. Naruto stopped them and turned to face Sasuke, a glare locked on the federal agent. It's not humanity that's hiding its existence. Wow, burn. Percy whistled as the gods looked angry at that one. Sasuke nodded in understanding to that. Yeah, but she's a kid. You can't fault her for taking things at face value. No, but I can fault her for letting her get in the way of her own judgment, Naruto said. They resumed walking to the cabin, going up the steps. If we go to her and tell her that her friend, an older attractive boy that has not really done anything to her, is a suspect in poisoning Thalia's pine. Annabeth was pink at how narrow-minded Naruto was making her sound. She was not that bad. I see your point, Sasuke said. He lifted his hand up and knocked gently on the door. FBI. Open up. The door was pulled open and a beautiful teenage girl with curled brown hair stepped into view, dressed in short jeans and a modified camp shirt to be a sleeveless tank top. Ugh, Marcus, if you say female body inspector, I'm going to kick your O. Sasuke gave a small charming grin. Hi there. He held up his badge. FBI. Oh, wow, that's a real badge. She leaned against the door and smiled at Sasuke. I'm Amber. Can I do anything to help you, Agent? Girls love a man in uniform, Aphrodite whistled. She's so forward, Piper sighed. Sasuke smiled back and lifted his left hand, revealing a gold band. Engaged. I'm here on business, for Chiron. Oh, Amber said with a blink. She sighed. Selena's at the stables if you want to talk to her. The others are out doing activities. I'm here because I have some summer homework that Chiron wants done. We have summer homework? Percy gasped. If you're a year-rounder, yeah. Annabeth nodded. Horrible. Percy shuddered. Thanks, Sasuke turned and walked away. He noticed a lack of footsteps and stopped. Sasuke turned around to see Naruto still on the porch. Are you coming, or what? You go ahead and get some answers. I think I'll stay here and get to know Amber. Naruto asked with a small smile. Amber twirled her hair around her finger and smiled back as she gave him a once-over. Her smile widened slightly. Smart boys. She best not. Athena glared at the love goddess. Aphrodite's smile just widened. Sasuke blinked in shock. Are you serious? You're flirting now? After all the blind dates your stepmother and I've set up that you turned down? Naruto tilted his head and looked up before he looked back at Sasuke. Yep. Unbelievable. Sasuke rubbed his head. Don't you want to interrogate her? I'm sure you'll do fine. Probably much better without me. Naruto waved his friend off. Sasuke shook his head in disbelief and walked off, which made Naruto chuckle. Naruto turned back just as Amber adjusted her shirt collar to expose more of her cleavage slightly, and her eyes flickered to Naruto's. A smile spread across her face. Do you have a badge, too? Because I'm sure what she's doing would get her arrested. Piper frowned. Piper, sweetie, you are such a little prude. Live a little. Aphrodite whined like a 5-year-old. Maybe when I'm older. The charm speaker huffed. Jason suddenly grew wary and excited all at once for time to pass. No. I'm just a consultant. Are you the only one in your cabin? Naruto asked. Amber's grin grew. Yeah. Why? Wanna do something illegal? Can I come in? Yes he can. Aphrodite. Hestia frowned at the giggling goddess. Sure thing, cutie. Good, I really didn't want to knock you out. Naruto walked in and brushed past the surprised girl as he entered the cabin. Naruto began to inspect the beds with a critical eye. Besides, it's statutory rape if I slept with you. I'm 22 and you're what? 16. See, early 20s. Athena smiled. Besides, her son was too good for a strumpet. Huzzah. Athena is right. Again, Poseidon rolled his eyes. For the first time. What is that supposed to mean? Can we please listen to the story? Hestia asked. The rivals went quiet but exchanged glares. I'm 17. What do you mean knock me out? Amber asked with her hands on her hips. Well, if you didn't give me permission to enter I'd have to first give a big apology to Aphrodite and then proceed to strike you in the throat, cutting your airflow, and follow with a hard punch to the diaphragm in order to get in. Naruto hummed as he picked up a rather lacy pair of underwear between his fingers. 17, huh? Why aren't you counselor then? So, Piper. Shut up, Annabeth. I don't wear those. Piper glared at the blonde with a red face. She wouldn't wear something like that. It was too embarrassing. Poor Jason. Aphrodite sighed. Mom. Amber stormed over to him and snatched the underwear from his grasp. First of all, don't touch my underwear. Okay, that image was admittedly very hot. Aphrodite purred. Oh, so he likes the angry types. Stop it. Now. Athena glared at the love goddess. Aphrodite tittered. Never. Secondly, Aphrodite chooses her children gifted with charm speak to lead the cabin. Amber shoved her underwear in his face menacingly. And finally, what was with all that stuff you said to the hot FBI guy? Hazel blushed furiously. Why is she shoving it in his face? I don't know. Frank admitted. Perhaps it is a way to start a courtship. Rain adjusted with a smirk. No. Piper frowned. I didn't want him to get all legally ethical on me while I searched for evidence that could implicate one of the people who reside in this cabin, Naruto said. While Amber continued to glare at him, Naruto blinked for a moment before he had an epiphany. Oh, you're wondering why I alluded to wanting to sleep with you and yet chose not to. Well, aside from the desire to not be labeled as a rapist, I'm more of a retard kind of guy. Well, at least he has a type. Annabeth muttered. Too bad for Treath Alia. Alia glared at Percy. Shut up. Jason shook his head. I'm never going to be an uncle. Jason. Amber blinked. Oh, that's reasonable. Wait, you're not attracted to me? Oh, I am. I'm just more into retards. Naruto shrugged. Amber frowned and stormed past Naruto into the cabin's washroom. Naruto watched the door slam shut and he tilted his head. What did I say? All the wrong things, Piper shook her head. Or were they the right things in this case? Naruto shook his head and walked around the cabin, searching bunks without any care for privacy. He pulled pictures of attractive men and women off of the wall. Minutes flew by as he flipped the cabin twice, tearing it down and then putting everything back the way was to see if he missed anything. The only room untouched was the washroom. Wow, thorough. Leo whistled. He could beat cohort inspection. Frank whistled. Hey, Amber, can I come in and look around? Naruto asked as he knocked on the door. He furrowed his brow and knocked again. Amber. The door flew open and Naruto took a step back out of mild surprise. Amber smirked at him and leaned against the doorway. Her brown hair now slightly wet and dark red. Dyed red hair is sexy. Leo gave a low whistle. Calypso. Piper reminded him of his girlfriend. Leo grinned and nodded. Yeah, she'd look amazing as a redhead. So, she began with a coy grin. Am I attractive now? Naruto slowly nodded. Very much so. Smart answer. Amber grabbed the edges of Naruto's jacket and pulled him into the washroom. The door slammed shut behind him. And thus, they banged everywhere, even the kids' beds. Ares narrated. Athena's mouth opened and closed as she failed to find a proper retort. Nice fish face. Poseidon whispered to her. He grinned at her flush and glare. Oh gods, what else has gone on in the cabin? a red-faced Piper feared. Annabeth decided to continue quickly. Sasuke leaned against his car with his arms crossed over his chest and looked at his watch. It was 3:40, 2 hours since he had spoken with Selena and other demigods about Luke. He'd been given a letter from one of his brothers and of course now that he had a precise location, Naruto was skipping out for a booty call. A fine booty indeed. Leo nodded. Piper just smacked him in the arm. Ow. Learn anything interesting? Speak of the devil. Sasuke turned and glared at his friend. An underage girl. Really? She's 17 and 2 months. Naruto shrugged. Legal by that age. Both Rhode Island and New York law says that's okay. Apollo grinned like an idiot. He was so proud of Athena Naruto right now. She was a brunette. Sasuke gaped at the blonde as he walked past and got in the car. Yes. Yes she was, Naruto said with a smile. But now, red is her color. Aphrodite smiled playfully. Mom, please stop. Piper whined. He opened the door. You texted that you had a lead. But she wasn't a repeat. You're right, she wasn't. Not naturally. Sasuke stared at Naruto. But she's all those dates Kushina and I set up. The girls Kushina assaulted to dye their hair and I bribed. Wow, he's got a hellload of standards. Naiko blinked. That does sound a bit extensive. Jason frowned. Aphrodite grinned. I'm proud of this Kushina, going so far to ensure her stepson is happy. Not ninja waifu is like sexy ninja waifu with my other kids. Apollo grinned, even after Artemis hit him. Zeus looked at Hera, who glared back at him. I wondered how you got that Sandy chick to agree to go out. She was a very smart woman and her studies on biological enhancements were fascinating. I felt so bad that she left her tests to meet me, Naruto said. He got in the car and sat down, looking at the passenger mirror. Naruto frowned and rubbed at the red lipstick on the side of his mouth. I walked through the camp and no one said anything. Seriously? Not cool. Too busy laughing. Percy grinned. Leo snorted. Or being jealous. I'm going to kill you. Sasuke decided as he got in the car. And then cover it up. Aha. So where's the boat? They'll never find your body. I find that highly unlikely. I'll scatter your remains across the country. Oh, that's a good one, Ares said and made a quick note of it. Right. Lock the tools I used in federal stores and classify the shit out of it. So feds do know the best way to murder. Naiko hummed in thought with a rub of his chin. Hazel looked at him. No. What? I'm just thinking. And that's what scares me. Just drive, Sasuke. I hate you so much, Naruto. Naruto rolled his eyes. Where is it we're going, anyway? You? After this, your body is going 6 feet under. Sasuke growled at Naruto's chuckle. He pulled back and turned the car around. But now? We're going to the docks. Tip from my cabin and confirmed by some guys back in the city. We're heading to Port Jeff. Best they haven't gone looking for the fleece yet. Percy commented. Annabeth shook her head. They didn't until you gave us the coordinates. You said to. Percy told his girlfriend. Yeah, it's not like we knew there were spies. Thalia pointed out. Sadly true. Annabeth conceded. Wake up. A hard punch to the shoulder jostled Naruto from his dreamless but welcome sleep. Naruto blearily turned and glared at Sasuke, his hand going to the punched arm and rubbing it soothingly. Who taught you how to wake people up? Naruto asked. He undid his seatbelt and yawned as he got out of the car. Naruto covered his mouth with his fist and shielded his eyes from the setting sun. Damn, how long was I asleep? 2 hours. Sasuke grunted as he slammed his door shut. He glared at Naruto. And you conked out before we even hit traffic. Oh, that is just the worst. Apollo whined. You fly the embodiment of the sun. Percy told him. I still have to deal with planes. The sun god looked at Zeus with a frown. I've had a few close calls because you never tell me to avoid stuff. Helps improve your awareness. Zeus retorted smartly. Never been able to stay awake in moving transportation. A result of a single father going to drastic measures to make his wailing infant sleep. Naruto droned. He shuddered. If I'm to keep my sanity, I'm never going to have children. He's a genius. Zeus said dryly, which got him hurt looks from all of his children. Hera scoffed. That must make you an utter fool. Ah, but he's your fool, Hera. Aphrodite grinned at the couple. Sasuke cuffed him upside the head. Don't even start. If I have to get married, you have to have children. Ugh, last I checked that's not how it happens. Frank surmised. It's in the bro code, Leo said factually. Frank furrowed his brow. No, I don't think it is. Well, it's in the bro Bible. Jason blinked. There's a bro Bible. You have to get married to your fiancé first. Naruto grinned as he rubbed his head, his eyes squinted from the sunlight. Sasuke glared at him and pulled out a pair of sunglasses to put on. He pulled out another pair and held them out to Naruto. Oh. Naruto blinked and reached for the glasses. Thanks. Sasuke pulled the sunglasses away from Naruto's hand and tossed them out into the water. Sasuke then walked off towards the docked ship like he had not just done that. Ares started a slow clap and smiled widely. That's my boy. Leo muttered. A bit rude, but Naruto's comment didn't help himself. Reina observed. Naruto stared after the FBI agent in disbelief. That was completely uncalled for. Naruto looked back at where the sunglasses were thrown before he followed after his irate friend. So unprofessional. Naruto caught up to Sasuke despite having the sunset blinding him and scowled at him. Sasuke arched a brow, his red eyes concealed by his sunglasses, but Naruto knew that amusement resided in them. The ass. The biggest. Apollo cheered like a slogan. Excuse me, sirs, but this is a private dock, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. A security guard put his hand on Sasuke's shoulder as he started to walk past. Naruto winced. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. He's in a bad mood. His father's blood shows. Sasuke grabbed the hand, twisted the arm and drove the guard to the ground in one fell swoop. Ares whooped. Yeah, violence. Wow, he just pulled that off like it was nothing. Frank praised. When he's mad. Naruto shook his head and shrugged. I tried to warn you. With some light strain, the shoulder dislocated and the security guard cried out. Other guards rushed forward but stopped when Sasuke lifted up his badge. FBI. Try me. Sasuke lowered his sunglasses and glared at the men with burning red eyes. The security guards backed off and went back to their posts while Sasuke pushed his sunglasses back up. I thought so. That has to be so useful. Leo pouted but soon grinned. Leo, if you forge a badge, Piper trailed off. Who says I'll forge it? Leo asked innocently. Wow, what happened while I was asleep? Naruto asked. Did your mom call you? Sasuke ignored him and walked onto the cruise ship, flashing his badge at people he passed. Naruto pursed his lips as he followed. Did your dad call? Sasuke stopped and looked at him, bewildered. Hunk, kick the loser in your car out while driving, Ares said with a phone motion of his hand to his ear. No. Athena copied the action just to mock him. Ares scowled at her. You suck. Last I checked, you did that on the weekends. Ares glared at Athena while Hephaestus burst into laughter. Naruto shrugged. It could happen. You were one of the best snipers in the world, in the top 10. Ares would like more deaths to occur in warlike acts. Ares nodded to this, but was loving that his kid was such a good sniper. Suck it, Apollo. It's only logical. Let me stop you right there, Sasuke said. First of all, Ares and logic, not a combo. Period. Never going to be a thing. Understand? Roger. Everyone but Ares nodded. You guys suck. Naruto tilted his head in thought. He then nodded. That sounds logical. And secondly, Sasuke said and poked Naruto roughly in the chest. I'm still one of the best snipers in the world. Don't say it in past tense. Maybe. Apollo huffed. Jealous. Ares sneered. You're still stingy that my kid was half cock. That shut up the war god. Sasuke turned and walked away without another word. Naruto arched a brow as he watched his friend walk off. Stingy bastard. I can hear you. Sasuke called over his shoulder. Naruto furrowed his brow and followed after the federal agent. He was quiet for a few moments as they walked through the ship and Sasuke asked several people about Luke. The people were distracted, all lost in their own fantasy. The mist at its cruelest. Hazel frowned and dared to ask what happened to them. They were food. Percy grunted with a frown. Hazel blanched. She was really hoping it wasn't going to be that. Sasuke's temper wasn't helping, and it wasn't until they came across a ship hand that they got some good, helpful responses. They were directed to the bridge, and it was only once he cleared the ladder that Naruto snapped his fingers. Sakura called, didn't she? Great, Pinky's in this. Thalia grunted. Sasuke groaned. I don't want to talk about it. Oh, I slept through that. Why didn't you wake me? Naruto whined as they walked towards the bridge's door. Her recent findings on the hidden vein system within the human body in Tibet were so amazing. I wanted to know details. An accomplished doctor, huh? Apollo mused. Amazing someone like Ares' boy could get that. Athena scoffed. It's the charm, Ares assured, making his siblings snort at the very thought. We're not doing this now. Sasuke said as he opened the door to three men, all in their late teens early 20s, standing in the bridge. Sasuke lifted his badge at one of the tall young men in the corner that started to move towards them. Try it, tough guy. I'll put you down faster than you can growl. Ah, welcome, Mr. A tall young man with blonde hair and a scar on his face smiled at them. The tone was far too pleasant and sounded a bit condescending. Luke in a nutshell, Percy said in a bitter tone, which got a sad look from Annabeth. He was. Save the bullshit, Castellan, I was at camp with you. Sasuke growled. One of the two burly boys in the room stepped forward and Sasuke glared at him. Back off, fuzzball. Naruto put a hand on his shoulder, his eyes locked on the pleasantly smiling teen. Now, Special Agent Uchiha, why don't you go question some of the pretty girls on the deck? I'm sure I can get some solid answers out of Mr. Castellan on my own. Yes, battle of wits. Hermes grinned. Luke's done, Jason said, he could tell with this Naruto. You just don't mess with him mentally. Indeed, Athena nodded. Naruto has already proven his intellect. He will outdo him. You're just biased. Hermes scoffed. And you aren't. Hermes stayed quiet at a retort which made Athena smirk in victory. Sasuke scowled and abruptly left. The door slammed so hard on his exit that the wood cracked. Naruto sucked in air through his teeth. I'm so going to regret doing that, Naruto said as he turned away from the door and sucked in his lips. Oh well, eyes on the present, not the past as the saying goes. I thought children of Athena loved to look to the past for answers. Luke asked. Naruto smirked as he looked back at Luke. Cute. You think about Annabeth just now. How much your absence is hurting her. How she might hate you now. Annabeth squirmed uncomfortably as she continued to read. Luke's smile fell and his eyes became hard. Is there a reason you and your federal friend are here? The two burly boys moved to flank the son of Hermes. Their skin shimmered before they changed into bear-like men. Naruto blinked at the change. Ah. The bear boys, that explains Sasuke's puns. Naruto mumbled. He was a bit upset that the mist affected him as long as it had. He should look into more demigod-related murders, get back into the swing of things. I know the feeling. Percy nodded with a pout. Naruto titled his head and looked at the two humanoid bears. Well, let me just say that Sasuke has not eaten yet and has eaten bear before. I'm also curious about the taste of an immortal's flesh. The bears exchanged a look while Luke arched a brow. Cannibalism? Really? Not cannibalism, they're not the same species as I am. From a god's loins, they may be, but demigods these two are not. Ain't that right, boys? Naruto arched a brow at the two. He's got him there. Frank admitted, but blanched at the thought. He was a bear once or twice. He looked back at Luke when they failed to respond. Muscle, not brains. More or less. Luke crossed his arms. Why are you on my ship? This isn't your ship, Naruto said. He turned and grabbed a plaque from a wall. This ship is owned by one Mr. Mycroft Holmes. Naruto turned the plaque around and looked at it with furrowed brows. Mycroft Holmes. Huh, go figure. Where's Sherlock? Annabeth wondered. He's the blonde. Hazel giggled. Annabeth beamed at that. It's my ship. Luke restated with a frown. I appropriated it for the true ruler of the world. Naruto looked at Luke and then back at the plaque. Do you think if there's a Mycroft that there's a Sherlock? I wonder if he's a brother. That would be disenchanting. God, I really hope he's not a brother of mine. Why not? Athena frowned. Because it takes away from his true skills if he's related to you. Apollo snorted. Sherlock is pure skill. Period. Luke smacked the plaque out of his hand and held a bronze blade up to his throat. Why? Are you here? Why is it that every demigod I encounter has a bad attitude? What happened to being civil? Naruto asked as he looked at the blade disinterestedly. You should really take better care of this. This was wielded by a revolutionary. Only fitting that it's in my hands then, Luke said. Naruto snorted and Luke narrowed his eyes. What's so funny? That he's delusional. Ares suggested. He ignored the glare from Hermes. Nothing well, except for the fact that you think you're a revolutionary, Naruto said. The blade dug into his neck and Naruto tilted his head up. Struck a nerve, didn't I? He always did have a temper, Annabeth muttered. Alias snorted. Yeah, he did. I'm fighting for our lives, Luke said lowly. The gods have taken advantage of demigods for too long, it's time we show them that we deserved better treatment. Blah, blah, blah. Dionysus rolled his eyes. Honestly, the boy just rambled on and on. And this has absolutely nothing to do with the feelings of love you had for Zeus's daughter before she was turned into a tree. Naruto asked. Aphrodite squealed. Yes. Nailed it right on the head. Aelia frowned and looked away at this. After Luke did. She could never feel the same again. Luke blinked. What? It was pathetically obvious, you know. You moped around, always went to visit her on weekends or before bed like a kicked puppy. It would be cute if it wasn't so sad, Naruto said nonchalantly. Wow, blade to throat and he's controlling the conversation. That's scary. Piper admitted in awe. The blade tightened against his throat. So hasty denial is not healthy for one's mental health. What are you saying? Luke asked with a growl. Make some sense. But gods, do I always have to repeat myself? Naruto groaned. You were in love, you twit. And you expect me to believe you willingly poisoned the tree that protects the camp, the last part of Zeus's daughter that lives. Thalia was dead long before I poisoned that tree. No, I wasn't. Thalia snapped angrily. Aha. So you admit to poisoning it, then? Naruto inquired. I got him to admit it, too. Percy commented. Yeah, but this is before we even went on the quest. Chiron might keep his job. Annabeth smiled as she continued to read. Still though, it's all that remains of her. You're spitting on her grave, the dead don't forget things like that, you know. Got that right. Naiko nodded. I remember a lot of stuff. Hazel added with a frown. Luke's jaw twitched and Naruto caught it. Oh ho, you had a plan. A way to fix the tree once you emerged victorious from whatever you call this. Or? Luke growled as he pulled his blade back. Choose your side, you either stand with me or with them. Where are them now? Jason asked. Apparently. Percy snorted. You mean with Olympus, I assume. Naruto hummed. He scratched his chin thoughtfully. I did wonder what type of man it took to poison a tree and endanger all those children. They chose their side when they refused to answer my call. Your call? You mean the letters you sent out in the mail? The party invitations? Naruto asked dryly. Were you really that mad no one would make reservations? Really, sending mail? Weak. Ares laughed. What's wrong with mail? Hermes frowned. In general, nothing. The problem I have is why you didn't notice. Zeus frowned at his son. Hermes quickly looked away from the accusing gaze in shame. Luke lifted his blade and took a swing at Naruto, but another caught his blade. A dagger, easily as long as an arm with two smaller blades protruding from the base, caught Luke's sword before the swing could complete. Naruto held his dagger effortlessly in one hand and pulled out a collapsible baton in the other. Dual wielder, huh? Jason asked in interest. But a baton? Piper asked. Reina answered. To take down mortal criminals, I would assume. Piper nodded. That makes sense. What's that for? Luke asked with a grunt as he tried to force his sword to move. Are you going to try to attack me? No. This is to stop the Wonder Twins. Naruto flicked a dial and an electric current shot through his baton. He danced around Luke, keeping the son of Hermes at bay with his dagger's unique design, and jabbed both of the humanoid bears in the chest. They flew through the windows of the bridge with yelps, and Naruto looked at his baton in wonder. I think 15 amps might be just a tad too much. He's got a mini master bolt, cute. Hades chuckled. Zeus looked crossed between being proud and somewhat annoyed that his symbol was emulated. 15 amps. Luke pulled away and took another swing. Naruto backed away from the blade and his thumb rolled over the dial. 10 amps can kill a human. I was sure that 15 would only knock them out. Naruto ducked under another swing and sidestepped a slash. Do you mind? I'm just trying to talk. He can dance well, but I'd rather see him fight. Ares grunted. Ballroom blitz. Apollo crowed. And I'm trying to kill you, so yeah. I mind. Luke took another swing. Naruto continued to avoid and deflect with his dagger. He's kind of rude. Hazel frowned. When he was trying to kill you, sure. Percy nodded since he had experience with that. Always the hard way. Naruto sighed. He caught another slice from Luke and twisted his wrist opposite of Luke's own twisting wrist. Ah, the infamous disarm. A basic if not overused technique taught at camp. It took a few practice dummies and a few hired hands, but I found a way to avoid being disarmed completely. Nice. Percy grinned, he had to learn that one. Naruto looked up at his dagger that was suddenly embedded in the ceiling. Huh, you slapped the palm of my hand. You truly are a prodigy in the art of swordsmanship. Bravo. That's it from daddy. Hermes grinned. Ready to die, then. Luke swung and Naruto stopped it with his baton. Luke stared at the mortal weapon that seemingly stopped his celestial bronze blade. He winced when the baton moved and cracked against his elbow, making the son of Hermes back away and shake out his arm. The perfect blend of bronze wiring and mortal metals. You, Mr. Castellan, are certainly unstoppable with a blade. Naruto smirked as he lifted his baton up. I, however, am a master of the single stick. Electricity danced around the tip of the baton. Care to test yourself against me? Single stick, so writing that down, Apollo said with a grin. Aphrodite hummed. I believe it is a French pastime. Point taken, Luke said as he dropped his sword to his side. Luke frowned at him. You are strong and smart, a true son of Athena. Why don't you join me? Can't you see that the gods don't appreciate you? Naruto turned his baton off and collapsed it into a portable form. He tucked it into his pocket. Naruto then jumped up to grab his dagger and pull it out from the ceiling. He sheathed it behind him, a thoughtful look on his face. You make a good point. I doubt the gods do appreciate me, Naruto said. He shook his head. But I don't want their appreciation. I don't want their praise, or their glory, or their position. Wow, he's really solitary about all this, huh? Leo cocked his head. Seems that way. Jason agreed. Oh, you do want their love. Abandonment issues. Luke asked, a knowing look in his eye. Naruto scoffed. Hardly. I know what my godly mother is like. I've met Annabeth Chase. I don't know if he means it like a compliment or an insult. Annabeth frowned. Probably the latter. Reina told her, which just made the blonde frown further as she read. Luke frowned. What do you mean? The gods, all of them, have become too human. Naruto nodded. Athena is called the goddess of wisdom, to be immortally wise and unbiased. But how is it wise to burden one of the brightest human minds on the planet who could do so much for the people she lords over with a child? It is not wisdom, it is stupidity. Athena ignored her duty, ignored humanity's need for her own selfish desires for a hero that she could use to stroke her own ego. Make her hubris grow. And slapped to the face. Ares cackled as Athena's eyes were wide. Wow, Annabeth muttered. That certainly put things into perspective concerning her dad. You don't like Athena? Luke's eyes shone. Join me. I'm not finished, Naruto said sternly, giving the infamous glare named after his mother that made Luke's silver tongue turn to lead in his mouth. Naruto relaxed his shoulders. I do not like Athena. However, Athena is still my mother. Like any child, I love both her and my father immeasurably, and I am grateful that she decided to bring me into this world. Just because I love my mother does not mean I have to like her. I understand her. Frankly, that's enough for me. Athena, words. Hermes asked with a grin. Not now, Hermes, Athena said sharply, a sour look plastered on her face. But she's a god. Luke insisted. Any problems given to us are their fault. They need to be held responsible for ruining our parents' lives. I completely agree, Naruto said. They want to rule the world, they should grow up and act like it. Shots fired again. Leo whistled as the gods did not look particularly happy at that comment from Naruto. Exactly. Luke nodded. You're such a fool. Naruto shook his head and made his way for the door. Luke was stunned and did not move to stop him. Naruto stopped and looked at the confused boy. There's something to be said about a scared little boy hiding in the closet. What are you talking about? A ranting mother, a crazy woman that spouted nonsense. Hermes flinched with a depressed look on his face. Shut up. Luke reached for his sword. Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled out his collapsed baton. But that kind of life, it's understandable why he'd be mad. And then the girl he loved died killed by monsters while she fought to protect him. How's she repaid for her sacrifice? She's turned into a tree. I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. Luke trembled, his knuckles wide on his sword's grip. Wow, he's really getting under his skin. Percy blinked. I thought only I could do that. You're not that special, Percy, Thalia snorted. I like to think I am. Just a bit. I hope you don't try, because if you do, you will die here and now. Naruto warned. Luke heeded it, smart enough to know when he was outmatched. Naruto cautiously slid his baton back into his pocket and turned the handle on the door. What I see before me is not a revolutionist, but an angry child throwing a fit. Didn't get enough milk as a baby. Ares smirked. Enough. Hermes snarled. Make me. Ares. Hera glared at the god and got him to stop. The result of your actions will not end well for you, Mr. Castellan. The Olympians will be punished for their crimes against their children, universal balance will see to that. Yeah. Percy coughed into his hand, getting some small chuckles. I thought it was Tiffin. Poseidon confessed. Who knows? Zeus sighed while Hades frowned in thought. Luke glared at him. I know. I'll make sure of it. Naruto shook his head. I'm afraid that you're wrong. I can guarantee that you won't. Is that a threat? Luke asked. You can consider it a promise. Naruto left without another word, leaving the son of Hermes to stew in his own anger. I can see the angst coming off him in waves. Leo said, looking at Nico. What? Nothing. Naruto and Sasuke returned that night to Camp Half-Blood, but Naruto did not mention Luke's admission to Chiron or Mr. D. He figured there would be no point. Zeus would not listen to hearsay, even if it came from Chiron. It was an unfortunate truth, bittersweet really. Yep. All the gods agreed while Zeus glared at them. Sasuke had driven Naruto home and then returned to his own house to be scolded and argue with his fiancée. Naruto made a bowl of ramen and watched the evening news. Small cases, missing pets, simple thefts and dull criminals occupied Naruto for 2 weeks before he received a call from Camp Half-Blood. Chiron told Naruto about a recent quest that not only brought the barrier back up, cleared the centaurs named, and convinced Zeus that Luke Castellan had betrayed Olympus, but the impossible, by mortal standards, had been achieved. Thalia Grace returned to life. It went back to Percy Jackson, the young son of Poseidon, and his desire to rescue not the camp, but his friend Grover Underwood. Percy let a large smile cross his face. After hearing the tale, Naruto had agreed to make a visit sometime in the summer and meet the boy, ask Thalia some questions about Limbo, and look into a new guardian for the Golden Fleece. You know, we never did ask you about that. Annabeth told her friend. Alia shivered. Don't. Naruto had just hung up the phone when he felt as though someone had joined him. He turned and blinked in mild surprise when a woman with long dark hair and eyes that were a brilliant gray looked at him. The woman was beautiful, dressed in a gray business suit that gave her an image of authority. It's Judge Judy. Stop calling me that. Athena glared at the amused Apollo. Athena. Naruto greeted. Well, now he sort of wished he had pants on. It was embarrassing to greet your mother in your boxers and socks. Laughs came from all around while Athena rubbed her eyes. Yes, it was embarrassing. Extremely so. Naruto Namikaze. Athena nodded back at him. Dionysus has told Olympus of your investigation that he forgot to mention. Did you discover any information that could have cleared Chiron's name? I might have. Naruto grunted in discomfort when a pair of slacks and a dress shirt appeared on his body. Really? That's my shtick. Aphrodite glared at the smug wisdom goddess. Not really. We can all do it if we wish. You just do it more often. You shouldn't speak to a goddess in your underwear. I wasn't really expecting company. Naruto returned dryly. He pulled his shirt out of his pants and allowed himself to breathe. Is that all you came here for? Naruto, I know what you think of me. I'm pretty sure all of Olympus knows what you think of us, Athena said. And he's not smote yet. Wow, getting soft owl head. Ares grinned. Humph, opinions are important. The goddess deflected. Naruto crossed his arms. You've become too human. Too comfortable. Perhaps. We are still gods, and while you may not like me, I do care for you, Athena said. She looked around the studio apartment with a frown. Isn't Dr. Namikaze a millionaire? Why does everyone rag on the simple living style? Naruto threw his arms up in disbelief. It's comfortable, affordable, and functional. What more do I need? He pointed at the goddess with a frown on his face. If you say a woman's touch I will consider committing matricide. Wow, he is very afraid of commitment, Piper giggled. He's just not looking right now, the love goddess confirmed. Athena let a small amused smile spread on her face. I'm a goddess. It'd be suicide by a mortal. Well, I'd give one hell of a try. Naruto crossed his arms again and shifted nervously at the look in Athena's eyes. But don't get me wrong, I like being alive. I do too. Percy nodded. Same here. Jason agreed as the demigods nodded their heads, Hazel most of all. You don't want to commit suicide, then? Oh no, not at all. I love being alive. There are many things in this life that I'm fond of. Naruto nodded. Such as? Athena asked. Ramen, sex, puzzles, ramen, Star Trek, sex, foreign languages, sex, ramen, foreign cultures, astrology, ramen, deeds, and did I mention ramen? Naruto asked. He mentioned sex 3 times Aphrodite tittered. Joy, a deviant. Athena frowned. Ares grinned at her. It's exercise. Athena scowled at him. Athena arched a brow. 4 times. Make it 5. I like the number 5. It's so evenly odd. Naruto nodded. Ha ha. Suck it. Ares jeered at his sister. He likes the number, not you, pig, Athena said sternly. My number is 5. You're just mad. He slid his hands into his pockets and frowned when he felt something brush against his left hand. Naruto pulled the object out and unfolded a piece of paper. What does Valdez mean? All-around badass. Leo answered instantly, but blinked in confusion. Wait, why does he have my name? Shush and we'll see. Piper told him. Athena smiled slightly and walked up to her son. She put a hand on his shoulder and looked into his eyes. I can see where one of my children's passion lies. You enjoyed the case of the poison tree. Oh, that's good, I'm going to use that, Naruto said with a hum as he rubbed his chin. Start a novella, perhaps. Got to flesh it out though, add in more sex and romance, perhaps a murder or two. Readers love that sort of thing. The more book-passionate readers nodded to this. Aphrodite, however, was giddy at the mention of a sex scene. She liked this Naruto. Consider this my test for you, then, Athena said. Naruto looked back at her, and she smirked. You've solved over 40,000 mortal crimes in your life, and only one Olympian case was ever issued to you. You didn't obtain any evidence, the victim hasn't received justice, and you failed to get a reward for your time. I do like puzzles. Naruto looked back at the paper in his hand. He looked up in time to see the fading figure of his mother before she vanished like she was never truly there. Naruto looked down at the paper in his hand and walked over to a blank spot on the wall next to his futon. He grabbed a piece of chewed gum from the floor and adhered the paper to the wall. Valdez, huh? Naruto crossed his arms and stared at the paper with a name scrawled on it. He looked closer at a small smudge. Naruto sniffed the paper and shook his head. This is grease. Something to do with Hephaestus. Hard bloodhound. Don't even jest. Athena frowned at Poseidon, who just smirked at her. Naruto dropped his hands to his hips and smirked. Okay, Athena. Challenge accepted. Well, that was different. Annabeth surmised the thoughts of everyone. Big time. Percy agreed with his girlfriend. Man, this is getting dull. Leo complained as the book was handed over to him. Why? Piper asked him. Just, Leo turned around to look at the gods and then looked back at Piper. Seriously, this Naruto guy is like everyone's kid. It is called multiverse theory for a reason, Leo Valdez. Athena reminded. Yeah, I know that. Leo rolled his eyes. I just think we need something different. Like? Percy asked, eating some blue M&Ms. Dark, gritty, Batman-ish stuff. The Son of Fire mused as he turned the page and read the title, The Monster Hunter. Ooh, I like it. Now to get all Dark Knight up in here. Leo. The demigods complained at his delay. I got it. The elfish boy rolled his eyes before he started to read. Louis Tumnus the Eighth. Yeah, make the lion, witch and wardrobe joke, you know you want to. Everyone snickered at that one. Poor sap. Was not having a good day. He was far from Camp Half-Blood, home to demigods, satyrs, like himself, and nymphs of ancient Greek lore. Well, lore according to normal humans anyway. To beings like Louis, it was sanctuary, the last good one as far as he was concerned. A sad time indeed. Artemis nodded solemnly. Louis wiped the back of his furry arm across his brow to clear away the sweat. This heat was unbearable. Rack of goat. Ares rubbed his stomach with a grin on his face. Ares? Hermes looked appalled. Hey, don't knock it till you try it. And there were far too many chains with hooks on them that hung from the ceiling in his opinion. A shadow moved and Louis hurriedly turned to find the source of it. Why did he agree to come to this old steel mill again? Oh yeah, because Chiron had made it an official request to the council. Louis pitied the old centaur, truly he did. He was given the blame for the poison of Thalia's pine when someone else was clearly responsible. Well, Thalia said, a displeased frown adorned her lips. At least we know when this takes place. Alas, Louis was just a satyr, a lowly ranked one in satyr hierarchy at that, and could do nothing but help the trainer out when he needed it. Louis grunted as he backed into an old table. Something fell and, before he could fathom an attempt to stop it, the object hit the ground and made a large bang. Louis yelped and quickly clapped his hands over his mouth to conceal the sound. Dead goat walking people, salute. Ares threw up his hand to his head. The boys all followed, only because that was one dead goat. It was too late. The shadows came alive and from one came an enormous hellhound. A creature of shadow, the hellhound was seen only thanks to the faint light that came from the mill's active smelters. Its red eyes scanned the room and drool dripped from the massive jaws. Louis scrambled for a place to hide. He ducked behind a large cabinet far from where he stood and breathed heavily as the sound of several deep sniffs hit his sensitive ears. Like Jurassic Park all over again. Apollo beamed. He just got a new idea. He kept his hands over his mouth so no unintentional bleats came out. He carefully peeked out from his hiding place and swallowed. A muffled bleat escaped his hands, which tightened around his mouth. The hellhound sniffed along the ground like a normal dog would and stopped where he had once stood. There were several more sniffs before it looked up. The hellhound stalked closer to Louis's cabinet and the satyr shrunk back into the shadows within. If only he could hide his scent, for the one few moments in his life, Louis cursed the fact that he was a satyr. Hey, free leg warmers. Leo pointed out the upside. The hellhound growled as it approached. The sound of its paws as they struck the ground were like booms of thunder from an angry Zeus, something that absolutely terrified Louis ever since he was a young goat. Zeus gave a small chuckle. Louis's eyes screwed shut and he held his breath. The hellhound's snout started to penetrate the cabinet and the growl became ferociously loud. It was a growl of anticipation and the glee of captured prey. A growl Louis really wished he hadn't heard. Then, something happened. Darn you plot convenience. Nico shook his fist in the air. The doors to the mill, left open to only a crack, suddenly exploded with noise as they were thrown open wide. The hellhound retreated from the near discovery it almost made and barked at the intruder. A chain rattled and the sound of a metallic crack filled the air. The crack was followed by a boom and the hellhound's whine shortly after. Was that a gun? Ares smiled widely and ruthlessly. Elsewhere, around the world, 1,000 puppies had just died. Louis chanced another look outside of his cabinet spot and leaned out. He saw the hellhound on its side on the ground. It writhed and snarled at an unseen foe or hero in Louis's opinion until it suddenly went still with a yowl. A chain fell to the ground as the hellhound dissolved into golden dust, a small pelt of fur left behind as a reward. The gunshot rang out and Louis cringed. Come out. The voice that spoke was young, but hoarse like it was unused. There was the soft click of a gun's hammer pulled back. Next shot will be the last. He is so mine. Ares laughed. Suck it, losers. Louis climbed out of his spot with his hands up. Don't shoot. I'm not a monster. He's lying cool guy. Ares pleaded. Shoot the goat, shoot him. Kill him, kill the furry abomination. Ares, shush. Hestia frowned. Oh. There was silence before another soft click followed his words. From the shadows came a giant of a teen. He was easily a few inches taller than the average man, and his shoulders were broad. Underneath a black leather jacket was a worn faded camp t-shirt covered his chest, and relaxed jeans were on his legs. Boots of some sort were on his feet, and in his left hand was a mortal handgun. In his right, the end of a bronze chain that rested where the hellhound once lay. The gun was tucked into a holster on his hip and the chain, as though sentient, wrapped itself around his arm several times. Nice bling. Thalia complimented on the chain jewelry weapon. I can dig it. Nico nodded in kind. Offs and punks. Percy shook his head, which earned him glares from his cousins. What do you want? Lewis looked up at the teen's face, or what he could see of it anyway. A bandana that had the lower image of a human skull on it protected the teen's face from the nose down. Steel blue eyes glared at Lewis and short wild corn-colored hair covered his head. Addis. Leo whistled. Ares buffed his nails on his jacket in pride. Lewis swallowed and slowly reached into his cargo's pocket. He pulled out a folded letter and offered it to the blonde. The blonde snatched the letter from the satyr's hand and flipped it open. His eyes scanned the contents before he folded the note back up and tucked it away into his jacket. Payment? Of course he'd be a mercenary. Athena rolled her eyes. As expected of one of Ares. Paid to kill and blow shit up. Hell the fuck yes. Ares cheered. Lewis blinked at the question and then fumbled around in his other pocket. He pulled out a small bag that jingled with each movement and held it out to the blonde. The hand shot out like a viper and grabbed the leather bag. It also vanished into his jacket soon after. Greedy punk. Hermes hummed. I'll get the rest at camp. The teen turned and walked out to where a dark motorcycle with a massive front waited. Just like his dad. Ares grinned in pride. Lewis hurriedly ran after him. The rider got on the bike and turned the engine over. The wheels ignited in flame and the sides of the hood turned on, a red headlight on either side, like evil eyes. Leo's jaw dropped. Must build epic bike. Wait, can I hitch a ride? Lewis asked. The blonde paused as he held a dark helmet and scrutinized the satyr for a moment. A beat passed before he pulled the helmet on and revved the engine. The rider turned to the satyr, his face hidden by the helmet. I'll take you to the bus station. Lewis sighed in relief. That'll work. Thanks. Don't mention it. Aw, he has a soft side. Apollo snickered. Ares scowled and crossed his massive arms. Bah, let the furry walk. Run. Get Naruto out of here, Kushina. Minato, don't be an idiot. I'll hold them off, just go. Mom. No, we have to go back for Minato. Minato. The rider shook his head and lifted his face guard to rub at his eyes. He lowered it so that the wind didn't bother him and brooded over his dream. That dream had gotten really old, really fast. Uo, dark origin story. Leo bounced in his seat. Just like Batman. Makes him a bit interesting, Aphrodite said with a small smirk. It had been 6 years since that day, the day his mother and stepfather died. 6 years since he left Camp Half-Blood behind along with all the friends he made. He wondered how many were left, how many had died on quests. That's morbid. Piper frowned. He wondered if anyone had taken Moria's place as cabin counselor. Well, he thought idly, I guess I'll find out for myself once I get there. His hand hit the autopilot switch and he retook control of his prize creation. What? Ares blinked stupidly. Hephaestus chuckled. No, no. Ares wailed. All that awesome. No way. The cripple got all that. Suck it. Leo cheered. I'm amazed Kushina did the deed with him. Aphrodite blinked in bewilderment. The smith god huffed. I can be charming. As a freshly shined wrench. Apollo snickered. He walked into that one, Dad. Leo nodded. Hephaestus grunted in return. It was originally a bodyguard for his mother, made in his first year, for when he was away at camp. After she had met Minato and things started to look serious, he took the bot with him to camp in his third year to tinker and toy with it. A motorbike bodyguard like Knight Rider. Leo gasped. Epic. Apollo grinned and got a high five from Hermes. Hephaestus's smirk widened while Ares' scowl grew. So not fair, Ares muttered. After the incident, Naruto packed up what remained of the original work and left Camp Half-Blood for good. Bold, Percy whistled. He was pretty impressed. 6 years ago, Naruto thought. He reached out with his right hand and pat the modified Suzuki motorcycle on the massive hood that housed an engine that ran on a smidge of plutonium and recycled energy. Nice power source. Leo nodded. And radioactive. Reina added flatly. The Latino waved off her comment. Meh, semantics. How's it feel to be 6 years old, Karama? The headlights flashed and the engine revved like a cat would purr. Aw, just like Festus. Leo smiled brightly at his baddest dragon. Beneath his helmet, Naruto cracked a smile. Yeah, I know. Feels longer, doesn't it? The motorcycle revved again. Alright, you take it easy and let me drive. There was another rev before the speed dropped significantly from 321 miles per hour. Naruto leaned forward and took the right down the dirt road. Naruto hit another switch that cut the blaze of fiery wheels and replaced them with off-road ready treads. Good speed and all-terrain functions. Leo muttered. He grabbed a napkin and began to write on it. Hey, read, don't write. Annabeth told Leo. Leo whined. But he wasn't given any relief, and he sighed. Darn it. Naruto turned right at the strawberry fields and kept to the road as the woods neared. The sounds of shouts and yells increased in volume as he drove closer to where the camp was. Naruto banked around the corner and saw a line of armored campers on Half-Blood Hill, shields and spears at the ready, while a few archers took shots at the attackers. The rider sneered at them beneath his helmet, Cyprian centaurs. A race of centaurs that hail from the island of Cyprus, said to be attendants of Aphrodite. Aphrodite said as she stroked her hair and looked away from the amused gazes she received. And children of Zeus and Gaia. Zeus cleared his throat in an effort to urge his grandson to continue, while Hera glared at him. They were similar to normal centaurs, but are larger and have bull-like horns that stick out the side of their head. They had thick hides and were fast despite their size. Naruto let his right hand slip out to the side and grabbed the handle of the weapon that was holstered behind him. The blonde pulled the modified Winchester shotgun out and, with a swivel of the cock he had practiced after he watched a Schwarzenegger film, loaded a round. Best. Bro. Ever. Leo grinned and smirked. Jealous. Of a Batman wannabe? No. Percy scoffed. Tyson is 10 times cooler. Annabeth rolled her eyes. My brother is like Sherlock Holmes, the hands-down greatest detective. Ninja brother. Piper chimed in with a smirk. I win. Jason smirked and looked at Talia. I dunno, I like Apollo's Naruto best. I get a niece and nephew. Shut up, Jason. He sped ahead of the centaurs and skid to a halt halfway up the hill. With his other arm as a balance, Naruto fired a round at the small force. 3 seconds after his shot, 3 of the centaurs were coated in fluid that burst into flames on contact with their skin. One fell into dust then and there, but the other 2 fled, and the flames that covered them remained despite their attempts to douse them. Effective. Reina commented idly. Naruto swiveled the shotgun again and drove at the surprised platoon. As he drove past one, he unloaded a bronze shotgun shell into its head. At the sight of their brother's head exploding, the centaurs abandoned their charge and chased after him as he sped away. Wow, he saved Claris. Percy grinned as he got a push from Annabeth. Sure, they're friends how, but Percy would still rag on her from time to time. Naruto shook his head. Too easy. He holstered the shotgun and twisted his wrist. From around his arm, the bronze chain slipped down and rattled in the wind. He threw his arm out at a distant tree and the chain shot out. It wound twice before it became lodged in place. Naruto turned around and led the centaurs into the woods, where he wound his way through the trees. The centaurs continued to follow after him, which led to their downfall. Throughout the chase, Naruto let his chain get hooked on several trees. The result was akin to a comedic run into the clothesline sketch. I love those. Piper snickered. Only with a bronze chain that cut through the centaurs' midsections like they were butter. Piper was silent and horrified. Jason patted her shoulder to console her. Naruto retraced his path and unwound the chain with a sharp tug. As he broke through the brush, one centaur blindsided him and tackled him off of his bike. Ooh, fail. Ares jeered. Naruto got back to his knees with a groan. He pulled his cracked helmet off of his head and put his hand to the gash that rested over his eye. He looked over to where the centaur slowly rose to its hooves, a stump where its left arm once was. The blonde then looked for his motorcycle, which he found on its side a few meters away. One detail stuck out and Naruto's eye twitched. You scratched my bike. And now he's dead. Leo glared. Never scratch the ride. Ares and Apollo nodded, both wholeheartedly agreed with Leo. Boys. Artemis shook her head. You killed my kin. The centaur growled in return. It used its spear to rise to its full height. A scratch will not satisfy my desire for your death, halfling. Naruto just glared at the centaur. The chain dangled from his wrist and he tightened his grip around it. Fire burned in his eyes and he focused solely on the centaur before him. The centaur charged forward with a yell and Naruto twisted his right wrist. The chain shot out to wrap around his left wrist and he ran at the centaur. Just before the centaur's spear was within strike distance, Naruto jumped and turned midair. His chain dropped down and caught itself under the centaur's neck. Naruto landed on the half-horse's ass and pulled the chain back. Okay, strangling a monster that's new. Frank whistled. Percy waved it off. I strangled a sea serpent once. Modest. Annabeth smirked at him. She got a lopsided smile in return. Air left the centaur's mouth, and slowly, the bronze chain glowed as it started to burn its way through the centaur's neck. Naruto tightened the length of the chain and continued to pull while the centaur bucked. This continued for about 5 minutes when the centaur dropped to the ground and pulled at the chain that strangled him. Naruto twisted the chain so it completely encircled the Cyprian's neck. "A sadist," Demeter commented lightly, which got a frown from Hephaestus. He scratched his bike. "It's a completely legitimate response," the smith god said. "This is for scratching my bike," Naruto said softly before he gave a final pull and sliced through the monster's neck with his chain. The monster's head fumbled in the air for a second before it began to dissolve into golden dust along with the body. Naruto let his chain wind up around his arm once again as he watched the monster disappear. All that remained was the centaur's spear, which Naruto picked up and broke over his knee. As he took the spearhead and tossed the natural remains of his spoil into the wood to be made use of, the armored campers ran towards him. Naruto ignored them and went to his bike. "That's nice." Thalia frowned. "Scratch on the bike." Leo stressed. He shook his head. "I swear, you gotta be one of us to get it." He ran his finger along the scratch on the hood and glowered. "Sorry, Kurama," he said softly. The bike's headlights flashed once and the engine revved. Naruto patted the hood and pulled the bike back onto its wheels. While he looked over the side that had hit the ground, the campers had circled him and watched him warily. "Who are you?" A girl with a red plume on her helmet demanded, her spear pointed at him. Naruto ignored her and continued to clean his bike of dirt and examine it for any damage. The girl growled and the tip of her spear became covered by red lighting. "I said, who are?" "Girl might get smoked," Hephaestus commented. He got a venomous glare from Ares. "Shut it, Crip." "Enough, Claris." The voice of an older man cut in. The girl, Claris, frowned and backed off, her spear's red lightning died down as she did. Hooves clopped to a still and Naruto looked up at one of the few friendly centaurs he knew that didn't have a bad drinking habit. "If only," Dionysus complained as he threw an arm in the air with a scowl on his face. Chiron smiled down at the blonde. "Thank you for coming, Naruto. Monsters are coming in waves, why wouldn't I be here?" Naruto rose and offered his hand, which Chiron took in a strong grip. "Nice to have some decent forges to use, anyway." "I'd imagine so," Chiron said with a small smile as he released Naruto's hand. He looked Naruto over and sighed. "So much has happened in these past few years. I hear you took on the Nemean lion." "Huh, rocks for us," Percy told Thalia. "Yeah, but now you're going to be full of bullets." "That'll suck." "It ran away before I could finish it," Naruto said bitterly. "Oh, good." Percy nodded. "Now I won't be full of bullets." He looked down at his bike and then back at the centaur. "Can you give me some space? I need to give Kurama a thorough checkup." Chiron nodded and turned to the other campers. "Back to your stations, there is no more trouble here." "Yes, Chiron," Clara said after a moment. She turned to the other campers that dawdled behind and barked. "You heard the centaur. Move it." 10 hut soldiers. Frank saluted at his father's shout with a serious look on his face. The demigods let out a few snickers. After the campers had made it halfway up the hill, Naruto turned his attention to some of the controls on the bike and began to flip various switches. With a final turn of the ignition, he backed away and gestured for Chiron to do the same. The motorcycle shuddered and revved the engine before it started to change. The hood flipped back and the wheels rolled up into the bike. The sight was one of technical wonder as Naruto's bike continued to change. With a few final clicks of gears being shifted in place, the bike had transformed into a lion-sized fox with bright red eyes. The fox shook itself and stretched like a cat before it barked at Naruto. "Estes is still more awesome. He's a giant dragon," Naiko pointed out. "Exactly." Leo grinned. "Bro did a good job, though. Mad props." "I'll bet," he said with a nod. Naruto turned to the surprised Chiron and nodded his head to the bike. "Chiron, meet Kurama or Kyubi 3.4.1. Mark 9. Thalia smirked. It made sense since that was what the fox was based off of. "Astounding work, Naruto," Chiron said as he looked over the automaton fox. Tumeshin inspired. "Minato's favorite story." Naruto shrugged. He patted the machine on the head. "Kurama here is my greatest creation." "Interesting name. I know you're of Japanese heritage, but why Kurama?" Chiron asked. "It's a mountain in Japan and an anagram," Naruto said. "Killbit utilized for roaming areas and monster annihilation." "Best nephew ever," Ares admitted as he frowned. Aw, now he wanted to kill Bot. Kurama barked and sat at Naruto's side like a loyal dog would. "Good boy." Naruto tossed the spearhead he had gotten from the Cyprian into the air and Kurama caught it in his mouth. As it chewed, Naruto looked at Chiron with a bit of pride in his eyes. His teeth are bronze, but painted over with steel-infused chemicals to give the illusion of normal metal. "Ah, science, what can't you do?" Leo smiled. "Bring back the dead." Naiko pointed out. Leo snorted. I'm living proof you can. Oddly magic stuff, not science. Science is working on it. I hope not. Hades frowned. For your sake. White Chiron stared at the fox as it swallowed the spearhead like a meal. He was a bit unnerved by the fox, more so when it seemed to look at him and lick its chops. The centaur cleared his throat and then turned towards camp. Well, shall we? Naruto shrugged and slipped his hands into his jacket pockets. I don't see why not. Come on, Kurama. Kurama barked and it followed the centaur and its creator. Chiron explained the situation in greater detail as they walked. Naruto took it all in with a small frown behind his bandana. Apparently, someone had poisoned Thalia's pine and the barrier had fallen a few weeks back. As he walked past the tree, Naruto observed the dying wood with a bit of concern. No wonder Chiron was taking the blame, Zeus must have been infuriated when he saw what happened to his daughter's tree. Oh, I was. Zeus nodded. But why Chiron? Thalia asked her father. Dionysus scoffed. I wasn't going to take responsibility. Of course not. Percy rolled his eyes. What was that, Peter? You know what I said. Any ideas on who did it? Naruto asked softly. We know. Annabeth mumbled, but Percy nudged her. The harpy flew overhead and warned him of his demise, but was scared off when Kurama barked at her. Naruto snapped his fingers to regain the machine's attention, but kept his own eyes on the centaur. Chiron sighed with resignation. It matters not, the deed is done and the blame has been placed. There is no hope for Thalia's pine. Okay. Percy blinked, that was brief. Naruto said in disbelief. He could think of a few things, but if Chiron said they were a no-go, then they probably wouldn't be accepted. I'll meet with Mr. D tomorrow. I'm tired and I want to kick whoever had taken my bunk out of it. I'm sure. Chiron gave Naruto a smile and put his hand on the blonde's shoulder. Thank you, again. I know how hard it is for you to be here, Naruto. Good night, Chiron, Naruto said with another nod. He and Kurama left the centaur and headed for cabin 9. He opened the door easily and walked in. Kurama followed and pushed the door shut with its tail. Naruto walked through the cabin until he came to the underground bunks. He stomped 3 times on the ground until a hatch popped open and out came a tired dark-skinned teen a few years younger than him. There's Beck. Percy smiled sadly. Annabeth reassured him with a squeeze of his hand. Who are you? He asked. Naruto Uzumaki, the blonde said with a frown. Seemed Moria either died or followed his example since the kid was in her bunk. So Dark Leo whispered eerily. Son of Hephaestus. The boy blinked tiredly and focused in the dark on the taller teen. When did you get claimed? 9 years ago. Naruto frowned. Back when you were playing with crayons, Annabeth said in an old lady voice. The addition of a wagged finger got a few laughs. Look, can you tell me if anyone took the bunk furthest from the forge? No one could. It's been locked since I got to camp several years ago by the previous counselor, the boy said. Your destruction awaits those who open the vault. Piper said in monotone. Ooh, I like. Leo nodded, which got the two to share a laugh. Jason shook his head, a smile on his face. He held a hand out. Sorry, haven't introduced myself yet. Charles Beckendorf, head counselor. Naruto took the hand and shook it lightly. No prob. Get back to bed. Just wanted to make sure no one broke my lock. Yeah, can't let the Killbit designs roam. Percy nodded. Bad news bears. Frank agreed. Naruto left Charles confused and tired and went to his bunk, furthest from the forge and on the left corner. Leo snorted, no one would want it then. Too far. Damn, that's a smart way to ensure no one goes through your stuff. He knelt down and grabbed a bronze lock that held the hatch in place. Several people had tried to pick it and it made Naruto chuckle. His gas lock must have knocked them out or made them sick. Note to self, gas locks. Leo, Piper frowned. What? This guy has some good ideas. He looked to Kurama and nodded. Beat up, Kurama. The fox's eyes flashed and it pounced on the lock like a lion to an antelope. Kurama ripped the bronze lock off after a few tugs and went to town. Naruto shook his head and opened the hatch to his old bunk. He dropped in and looked up to where the fox remained behind. Naruto shook his head. Kurama, get in here before one of the kids tries to take you apart. I would, Leo said shamelessly. The fox fell in with the grace of a cat, accompanied by a loud thump, and curled up on the floor. Kurama continued to gnaw peacefully on the lock and Naruto pulled the hatch shut. He walked over to his bunk and sat down on the edge. The room was dusty and a few sketches of ideas for his house in Oregon from when he was 12 were taped to the walls. Naruto smacked the bed and a small cloud of dust shot up. Oh, he should at least dust it. Hestia frowned. You shouldn't sleep like that after all. But the frown under his bandana, Naruto looked at his machine. Kurama, activate air recycler, he said. The fox paused in its treat before its back clicked and 2 vents popped up from its back. They turned on and Kurama went back to its treat. How prepared. Athena complimented. That could be used for hazardous areas as well. Bravo. Naruto slipped his jacket off, hung it over the edge of his bunk and then bent over to untie his boots. He slipped his feet out and laid back on the bed. With one hand hovered over it, Naruto debated whether or not to take his bandana off for the night. He decided against it because of the dust in the room and focused on the roof of his bunk. Naruto stared at the picture attached to the roof, one with a red-heated woman and a tall lean blonde next to her, while a younger version of himself was in front of them with a small machine in his arms. They were outside of the new house Minato bought in Oregon, and both blondes had Camp Half-Blood shirts on. Oh, so the stepdad was a demigod. Percy tilted his head. That's pretty cool. Naruto's was newer and several sizes too large, though now it was a bit snug while Minato's was older and the lettering had faded. I forgot about that picture, he said softly. His heart ached like a clamp had been squeezed around it and the blonde draped his arm over his eyes. He listened to Kurama's vents clean the air and his eyes fell shut behind his arm. Night mom. Night Minato. That was sad, Hazel frowned. Ah, but it can only go up now. Leo pointed out. Hazel smiled lightly. True. I'll take over. Piper said, getting Leo to smile. Yes. Leo grinned and, once he handed the book over, started to write down some notes. Naruto shot up, his skin covered in cold sweat. With a grunt, Naruto turned to sit on the edge of his bed. His left hand wiped the sleep out of his eye and he forced back a yawn. Naruto looked down at the massive machine that had curled up at the head of his bunk. He bent over and rapped his knuckles on the top of the fox-like head. Hey, wake up, Kurama. Knock, knock Buckethead. Naiko smirked. The eyes of the metal fox brightened from the dimmed setting they were in sleep mode. The fox got up with a stretch while Naruto rose from his bunk and opened the hatch. Naruto grabbed the edge and pulled himself out of his room with little effort. The son of Hephaestus welcomed the heat of the forge as it passed over his skin and the blonde took in a breath of air. That place still needs a good cleaning. Hestia frowned. The smith god groaned at that. He still remembered the last time Hestia visited him at one of his forges. He had just finished putting his tools back where he liked them instead of their proper place. He sighed and looked around for any sort of clock and found it on the wall above an opposite room 3 bunks away. 3:15 4 hours, new record, Naruto said. Seems like you've got an insomniac, Hef. Apollo pointed out. I so know the feeling. Naiko nodded. You could use some sleep. Hazel frowned towards her brother. Naiko shrugged. Meh. He cracked his neck and stepped out of the way so that his loyal creation could follow him. Kurama shook itself off, a small cloud of dust shot out from his vent and the machine growled. Yeah. I'll clean you after I get a shower in. It's been a few days since we stopped at that pond in Illinois. You. Aphrodite and the demigoddesses grimaced. Way of the land. Thalia shrugged. Helps blend in with nature, but only so much until she reeks. Naiko snickered and got a nasty look from Thalia. Kurama's eyes flashed eagerly and it scratched at its left ear with its hind leg. Naruto shook his head and walked down the hall towards the shower. Come on, Buckethead. You've got the spare clothes in subspace. Kurama let out a few clicks and followed Naruto down the hall. It stopped outside the door and its right shoulder popped open. Think it's a washing machine, too? Annabeth asked. All-purpose Leo noted on his napkin. Naruto snatched the rolled-up clothes and took them with him into the bathroom. Anyone tries to tinker with you, bite their hand off. Extreme. Jason blinked. Hephaestus snorted. I'd try to tinker with it. So, not really. Same. Leo agreed. Kurama tilted his head and clicked a few times. I'll just build them a new one. Oh, that's fair. Percy nodded. He leaned towards Annabeth's ear and whispered. Not really. Annabeth nodded in agreement. Naruto said with a shrug as he grabbed one of the clean towels from the closet next to the bathroom. Kurama seemed content with that and curled up in front of the bathroom while Naruto shut the door behind him. He placed his clothes on the counter and looked into the mirror. The skull on his bandana grinned back at him and with a hard look in his eyes, Naruto pulled the article from his face, which was revealed to be quite handsome. Naruto glared at the 3 large scars that went from one side of his face to the other, courtesy of a monster he had yet to fully remember. The scars that crossed over his nose, mouth and chin were lighter than his skin and jagged. Luke. Percy muttered, he looked a lot like it. Just bigger and buffer. Handsome. Aphrodite mused as a smile spread across her face, she did like scars after all. Ares frowned. While he liked the look, he did not like the fact that his girlfriend did too. The day he had gotten them, Naruto had lost his mother and stepfather. He looked away from the mirror and pulled his shirt off. He balked at his own odor as it wafted off the shirt and hurriedly turned the shower on. With a mental note to burn his shirt and get a new one. The icon of bachelordom. Artemis stated blandly. Ah, bachelors. Best parties. Apollo nodded. Dionysus scowled, he never got to go to any of those. So glad I'm not one. Percy frowned. You'd be helpless without me. Annabeth smirked at him. Percy smirked back. Duh. Naruto stripped down and jumped into the hot shower. When he was finished, Naruto quickly dried himself off with a towel he had grabbed and got dressed. Naruto walked out of the shower clad in a clean pair of jeans and a white wife beater that clung to him like a second skin. He balled the other clothes up, save for the camp shirt he planned to drop into the forge. Hey. Leo waved his fist. Don't go funking up the fumes, dude. I'm not there yet. And gave them to Kurama. The metal fox stored the dirty clothes in the opposite shoulder and followed its creator back towards the bunk. Naruto fell in, pulled his boots on, put his contained ammo clip strapped around his right thigh. Never leave home without your clip. Ares nodded. And left his jacket on the edge of the bed since he didn't need it. Now fully dressed and ready to run into battle without injuring his foot. Talk about embarrassing. Achilles. Apollo snickered. Naruto climbed back out of his bunk and went towards the forge. As he planned, the first thing he did was drop his old camp shirt into the fires and watched it burn. Pyro in the making, Jason said. Leo rolled his eyes. It's not like he got off on it. Gross. Hazel blanched. That was too much information. When it finished, he moved on to the next project in his mind. Ammunition. He grabbed a bar of bronze and set out to make the 2 calibers he needed. A few hours passed and Naruto had made at least 100 full metal jacket .45 bullets for his Colt and had just closed the 40th 12-gauge round for his Winchester when the boy from before, Charles, walked into the forge with a few other children of Hephaestus behind him. As he heard them amble in, Naruto grabbed his bandana from his pocket and tied it around his face. So he's sensitive about his scars, sue him. Oh, nothing to fret over. Aphrodite grinned. He was shy, too. That's cute. Hey, who's that? One kid whispered to the others. Kids can't whisper. Percy snickered. He stole a glance at Nico, who glared at him. I am death. He whispered darkly. Don't let the Nados hear you say that. Hades told his son. Relax, Sam. His name is Naruto, Charles said. He walked over to the blonde but backed off when Kurama looked up from where it laid next to its creator and growled at him. Easy, Naruto said gruffly and dropped a small chunk of celestial bronze to the fox. The fox grabbed the chunk and began to gnaw on it. He turned away from the shell he finished and looked over the slightly shorter teen. How'd you sleep, Charles? Call me Beckendorf, the head counselor said. Naruto shrugged. You got it, bed and drawers. Why did we never think of that? Percy blinked. Beckendorf was too imposing. Annabeth reminded him. Right. On second thought, call me Charles. Charles rubbed his face while the other kids snickered. He gave them a stink eye, which made them stop snickering, but couldn't stop the smiles on their faces before he looked back at Naruto. After you woke me up, I slept rather well. When did you wake up? What time is it? 6. 3 hours ago, Naruto said. He turned back to his crafted bullets and hummed. I need boxes to carry these, Kurama, fetch some small iron sheets. Don't eat them. The metal fox looked up from its treat of bronze and whined. Hungry little Kilbit, isn't it? Reina commented she'd rather deal with her dogs. They didn't need to teeth. I think it makes it more lifelike. Hephaestus argued. I wonder what else it eats. Ares chuckled darkly. He got some concerned looks. Naruto rolled his eyes. Don't give me that, you've got a chunk of bronze in front of you. Eat that when you're done. Kurama let out a snort and got up. It slunk past the other members of the cabin, all of their eyes glued to the complex machinery that moved past them, and grabbed the items as requested. Automaton? Beckendorf asked. Naruto scoffed. Please, no offense to Hephaestus, but Kurama is more advanced than a simple automaton. Ooh, name basis. Leo winced. That's harsh. Hephaestus wrinkled his face a bit but made nothing more about it. AI? The lone girl of the group asked. I'm Cassie, by the way. Naruto nodded at her. Naruto. AI are too chatty. He's pretty much a really intelligent animal. Like a dolphin or an ape or something. Ah, dolphins. Poseidon beamed, a sea god's best friend. Literally. Athena snorted, owls were far smarter. Kurama let out a dolphin's laugh as it brought back several sheets of iron as Naruto requested. The blonde let out a snide chuckle and snatched the sheets from the machine's mouth. Smartest. I like it. Percy grinned, that was cool. Plus, free washing machine. What are the base components? A boy, perhaps Sam that spoke earlier, asked. His fingers twitched and Naruto could see the plans form in every one of the kid's eyes. The blonde smirked beneath his bandana. An old Sony radio, a Suzuki motorcycle and several household items. They all looked a bit upset that he didn't elaborate and he chuckled. Yeah, no. Kurama's one of a kind. Ooh, tell us more. Leo whined. He got a pat on the back from Jason. One of a kind. The breaking point lyric played from Kurama as he resumed to gnaw on his treat. Naruto reached down and patted the fox-like machine on the side. "Am right, boy," Naruto said with a hidden smile. He looked up at the kids and amusement glistened in his eyes. "So, we going to continue with 20 questions or are we going to work?" "Just one last question," Charles said. "How old are you?" 18, Naruto said. "Plenty old." Leo looked impressed. "Yeah, for living long," Naiko said dryly. "Dude, you sound like the dead." "Percy, so help me." Now, Hestia shushed them and gestured for Piper to continue. That seemed to satisfy the kids and they scattered to different corners of the forge in order to begin their own projects. Naruto watched them all for a moment and then turned back to his project. "Cute kids. Give me some of Dryman's lyrics, Kurama." The fox let out a few clicks before the drums of heavy metal filled the cabin. "Of course, heavy metal," Apollo said flatly. "It's good," the smith god said. "I know, just so cliché." The other kids didn't seem to mind as they were all hard at work. Naruto grabbed a sheet of iron and started to measure out dimensions for an ammo box. He nodded along with the beat of the metal that blared from his fox's speakers and grabbed a welder's mask that had a white skull painted on the front of it. "He's got so many skulls and crossbones we might as well call him a pirate." Percy shook his head. Raina frowned. "I hate pirates." He pulled out a saw and began to cut the iron to his measurements. About a half hour later, Charles walked over to Naruto as he put the finishing touches on his second box. Naruto lifted the mask and looked at the younger counselor. "Can I help you?" "Actually, I have a question." At Naruto's brief nod, Charles hesitated, searching for words, before he spoke. "Well, is there any particular way you dismantled the radio or any specific parts you used?" Naruto stared at Charles for a second before he shook his head. "To be honest, I was just working off my gut and instincts. Let the smith in me come out and take control. It's why I blur the metal, I get lost in the chaos." "I so feel you." Leo nodded as he held up his hands and looked at them. "I swear they have their own minds. I think they're conspiring against me." "Leo, your hands are fine." Jason rolled his eyes. "Lies. You know not what these devils have made me do." "Like pranking Hedge?" "Yes. I was innocent." Leo nodded swiftly, his proclamation got snorts of disbelief. "Yeah, I noticed." Charles rubbed the back of his neck. He lifted his other hand and showed off a green cube. "I pulled myself out of a trance and found this cube of circuits and wires from different things put together. I don't know how I did it." "Instincts," Naruto said. He grabbed the cube without bothering to ask and looked it over. "Looks like Kurama's core. A bit larger. Thinking of anything in particular while you worked?" Charles swallowed and looked away slightly. Nothing in particular." "Oh ho. What's this?" Aphrodite glimmered with glee. "Duh." Annabeth smiled. He had it so bad for Selena. Aphrodite tittered. Naruto arched a brow. So Charles had a crush, huh? Good for him. The blonde, personally, didn't get girls. They were stranger than guys were, and Naruto knew plenty of strange guys. "Like father, like son." Ares snickered. Hephaestus rolled his eyes. Naruto let his eyes roam back to the cube in his hand. "Well, whatever you were thinking of is the core's purpose. I, personally, was thinking of a neighbor that had pet dogs I liked. Got the most loyal pet out of it." Leo rubbed his chin. "I don't like that," Piper mumbled. Jason rubbed her shoulder. "If he tries anything, just charm him out of it." Charles blinked and flushed lightly. "So, if I was thinking about a girl." "Probably something mushy," Naruto said as he handed the cube back. "Don't really know how my stuff works, it just does what I want it to. Kind of like that mutant from X-Men." "Forge. You do know that character was based off of our father, right?" "Best character ever," Hephaestus said. "Tony Stark." Leo pointed out. That's another one, but he doesn't have techno powers." "This is true, but still." "Iron Man." The smith god rubbed his beard. "I think I have one of those somewhere." "Whoopee. Let's send Marvel a thank you note on his behalf," Naruto said dryly. He turned back to his ammo box and flipped his welder mask back down. "Listen, Charles, I'm not one for advice on girls. I'm still a friggin' virgin for Christ's sake." "I am too." Thalia nodded with a grin. "Bet frustrated at night." "I will char you, Valdez." "It's a legitimate original, never mind." "Right?" Charles blinked, a bit surprised at the laid-back announcement. "So, you've never had a girlfriend?" "Don't see the need for one right now," Naruto said shortly as he started his welding torch back up. "Maybe later." "Oh, it will be later, all right." The love goddess was already in plot mode if her smile was anything to go by. "Aphrodite." Her husband frowned. He didn't want her messing with one of his kids. "What? All you need is love. Everybody. All you need is I'll shut up." Apollo was cowed by Artemis's glare. "Okay thanks, Naruto," Charles said. Naruto grunted in return and the cabin counselor went back to his workstation. "Awkward." Piper summed up that scene. "Insightful." Aphrodite corrected with a grin. When he was done with the ammo boxes and stored them in another subspace storage limb on Kurama, the blonde lightly tapped the side of Kurama. "Get up. You're getting a tune-up." Kurama let out a whine. "Oh, don't give me that, it's been 4 months since your last one. And there's the scratch I still have to buff out," Naruto said. Kurama clicked in return before it stood up on all 4 legs. Several parts hissed before the left side of Kurama's body opened to reveal a complex, near biologically accurate but mechanical interior. Naruto crouched down next to the killbit and pulled a flashlight from his back pouch. He heard several tools clatter to tables and rolled his eyes. "Eager to see under the hood." Frank chuckled. "Who doesn't want to see it?" Leo grinned. "Anyone tries to sneak a peek at his interior and I'll rip your eyes out." He didn't bother to turn around as he gave his warning. "That sounds fair." Nico mused. "And painful." Thalia added. The 6 kids, compared to him anyway, immediately returned to their own duties. Content that his work wasn't going to copy directly accidental or indirect duplication was acceptable to him. Naruto began to thoroughly look his pride and joy over. As he finished the wax job that would leave Kurama near spotless of any dirt, a horn sounded. "Food." The demigods cheered. More appeared in front of them and they grabbed some snacks. Naruto turned the buffer he used off and looked over to Charles. The head counselor looked at his other siblings with a lopsided smile. "You guys know what that means." "Breakfast," he said. He set his welding torch and goggles down. "Let's go before Mr. D sends another harpy after us." "Ah, good times." Dionysa sighed with a small smile. "Why is he allowed around children again?" Apollo asked. "It's a punishment." Zeus claimed. "He's failing at it," Athena said dryly. "You obviously don't see how I suffer." Mr. D huffed, sipping his Diet Coke. A couple of the kids shuddered while the other grumbled and put their own tools down. Naruto shook his head and set the wax buffer on his workbench. He looked at Kurama, the machine sparkled under his gaze, and smirked. "You're going to rub yourself into the dirt, aren't you?" Kurama just looked at him innocent eyes, or at least as innocent bright red lights could be. Naruto sighed and patted the fox on the head before he followed his cabin mates out. "Alright, well, don't stray too far and don't try to eat any satyrs." "Must have one." Ares begged. He turned to the smith god. "Hef." "No." "Oh come on." Ares whined. "No." Ares crossed his arms and started to grumble like a brat. Kurama barked indignantly. "I know it was 5 years ago, but still. The goats are everywhere here and I'm pretty sure the other campers wouldn't be happy if a satyr went missing," Naruto said dryly. "Yeah, not so much." Percy nodded. "At least Grover isn't there." Thalia sighed. Percy frowned. "No, he's got it worse." "Oh, yeah." The hunter nodded. He followed the other members of Cabin 9 to the dining pavilion and, despite the whispers of the other campers, had a rather nice time to himself as he did. Kurama even ran off at some time to rub himself into the ground and ruin the wax job that had taken Naruto 20 minutes to do. Reina rolled her eyes. "Such a kind, loyal, and loving pet." Hazel smiled lightly. "I think it's kind of cute." Just before Naruto could sit down and enjoy breakfast, a throat was cleared. Naruto turned to the head table, where a man dressed in a Hawaiian shirt and purple shoes sat. Dionysus, or Mr. D as he insisted the demigods call him, had his purple eyes locked on the son of Hephaestus and a small scowl on his face. "Charming as always, Dionysus." Aphrodite frowned. "Oh, I try. Truly I do," the wine god said sarcastically. On his right was Chiron, his white flank as spotless as ever and his human torso covered in light armor. On the left was a man in an orange jumpsuit with the number 0001 on it. Percy glared at the image. "Hello Mr. D," Naruto said as he approached the table. He turned to Chiron. "Morning Chiron." "Good morning, Naruto," Chiron said with a nod. The prisoner coughed into his fist. "Allow me to introduce myself to you, demigod." "Don't care," Naruto said. He didn't want to give the dead king the satisfaction of having his attention. "Okay, second favorite Naruto." Percy grinned. Instead, Naruto focused on the god that looked a tinge amused at the rebuttal to the prisoner. "Sorry I didn't come see you when I first got here. It was late and I know you don't like your naps interrupted. Wasn't really in the mood to be turned into a squirrel again." "Oh, those were the days." Dionysus sighed. "I never get to do things after the first time." "Because we scare you." Athena frowned at her brother. She still remembered when he had turned one of her sons into an owl. It was very upsetting. "Psh, you wish." The wine god scoffed. "So you did learn from that," Mr. D said with a smirk. He grew serious and opened a new can of Diet Coke. May I ask why you have returned? Chiron issued a contract, Naruto said. The god turned to the centaur and Chiron crossed his arms. A little going away gift to you, Mr. D, Chiron said with a wry smile. Cheeky centaur. The party god muttered. Mr. D did not share the sentiment. Thank you, Chiron, for the wonderful gift. Think of it this way, Chiron said. It'll save you from writing those ghastly sorry your kid died letters. Ugh, such a pain. Mr. D complained. He got looks all around from the gods. Mr. D hummed. That's true. I may not care if they do or don't, but the parents' replies are rather rude. And I'm not allowed to turn them into vermin anymore, so they just pile up. Instead I have to wipe memories, and you'd be surprised how angry some of the other Olympians can get when they're forgotten by past lovers. Dionysus whistled innocently while the gods glared at him. I'm sure they are, the prisoner said. He glared at Naruto, most likely for his rude behavior towards him. So, boy, what makes you so special? I see you're a son of the crippled god. You'd think he'd learn. Hephaestus frowned. He's already being punished, what does he have to lose? Hades asked. The smith god grunted. Naruto blinked dryly at him and then turned to Mr. D. He threw a thumb at the prisoner. Is he really the best you could scrap up for Chiron's job? Oh no, I was going for the worst. If I couldn't make you miserable, might as well get someone stupid to do it for me. Dionysus explained, being honest with his methods of madness for once. How do you function? Hermes asked. Dionysus smirked at him and held his can up. Diet Coke. Oh, Tantalus has all the qualities of an activities director, Mr. D said with a wry smile. His eyes twinkled in amusement when he glanced at Tantalus. Naruto arched a brow quizzically and followed the god's gaze. Tantalus was staring intently at a pancake set before him and swallowed down the drool that threatened to leave his mouth. A fork and knife were in his hands and he tried to cut the breakfast, but it rolled up and fled from his fork. When Tantalus tried to stab it, it stood upright. Naruto blinked at the sight and a smile cracked under his bandana. I see what you mean. Mr. D looked back at the demigod and his smile left his face. I'm done with you, Narnia. Back to Hephaestus's table. Yes sir, Naruto said. He nodded to Chiron, who nodded back and then, on a whim, snatched the pancake from Tantalus while he glared at it. Bold. Thalia grinned, she was starting to like this guy. A bit gruff and gloom, but hey, he was cool. Aphrodite glanced at her. Like the tough ones, Thalia. Aphrodite, Artemis warned. It's an innocent question. You brat, give that back this instant. Tantalus demanded. You're right, D, he is an idiot. Apollo nodded. He gets it from his father. Hades smiled as Zeus glared at him. Naruto tossed the pancake at the king, but it stopped midair and flew back to his hand. The pancake force is strong in this one, Frank said in a deep voice. A smirk appeared beneath Naruto's bandana. Oh yes, he was going to enjoy his time back at camp. Off with you, Nanacho. And worry not, Tantalus. Silenus, bring another plate for our new activities director. Mr. D said as Naruto walked away and ripped part of the pancake off to slip into his mouth under his bandana. He sat down next to Cassie while she and the other members of his cabin looked at him in shock. Naruto, do you know who that was? She asked him softly. Yes, Naruto said. He ripped more of the pancake off and put it in his mouth. That was Hannibal the cannibal. Nice, Apollo grinned and high-fived Hermes for the awesome movie reference. Ick, Piper shivered. Worst movie ever. Too much meat. Quite, Leo. Well, the other kids were a bit confused, a passing satyr heard him and laughed. Nice one. And that's an awesome satyr, right there. Hermes pointed out. Who? Charles asked. Serial killer that ate his victims. Naruto waved it off. You gotta see the movies. Breakfast continued and Naruto occasionally slipped something under his bandana to eat. Other tables whispered and gossiped, mostly about the strange blonde that joined Hephaestus's cabin that morning or about what their plans for the day were. It was idyllic and nostalgic in a way for Naruto. Makes you feel the warm fuzzies. Frank nodded. You'd know fuzzy alright. Frank glared at the grinning Leo and slumped his shoulders. Walked into that one, huh? Oh yeah. Then, as expected, it went downhill. It always does. Percy complained. The fates defiled even the sacred breakfast. Curse them. Another horn blew and several campers rose from their seats. Mr. D hardly batted an eye and continued to discreetly goad Tantalus with food. Instead, Chiron took charge and looked over the campers, his eyes met Naruto's, and the blonde nodded. Naruto rose from his seat and ran towards the camp's boundary line. First on the line, first to die. End of story. Ares bowed his head. So grim. Apollo frowned. We hardly knew him. Heck, Percy hasn't even come in yet. Yeah. Percy nodded. Well, there's one upside so far. Ares smirked. He cupped the side of his covered face with his left hand. Karama. The metal fox burst from the brush with a roar and ran up alongside him. There was a few clicks before the fox's back shifted up and two handguns shot from holsters built into it. Naruto caught them as they came down and turned the safeties off. He cocked the hammers back and kept his index fingers on the side of the triggers until he saw what he was up against. Okay, that was movie action stuff right there. Leo whistled. Apollo rubbed his chin. Always in the market for stunt doubles. We do all our own stunts already though, Percy said with a grin. Oh, nice one. The sun god snickered. When he got to Half-Blood Hill, Naruto found a camper pinned by a large monkey-like creature, only it had no tail. Planet of the Apes. Frank gawked. Kill the furry little bastards. Ares encouraged with a grin. The fall is coming. Artemis frowned. Okay, Naiko said in bewilderment and looked at Piper. Hurry the hell up and read. Naruto lifted his left hand and took a shot that nailed the monster in the head, it fell to its side off of the demigod and turned to dust. While Kurama ran into the fray to take more of the monkey-like monsters out, Naruto stopped and offered his hand to the downed demigod. Thanks, the boy said. He was about the same age as Charles and had honey blonde hair and gray eyes. Athena's kid. Who are you? Name's Naruto. Cabin 9, Naruto said. Malcolm. Cabin 6, Malcolm said in return. He picked up his drop sword and looked at the weapons in Naruto's hand with a hint of disdain. Guns. Aw, boo-hoo. Is he going to bitch about it? Ares mocked. Athena glared at him. There's nothing wrong with not liking guns. Naruto arched a brow. You're dissing the weapon that saved your life. Exactly. Silence, Ares. The wisdom goddess frowned as she got a smile of mockery from her war-loving brother. No, but. Listen, kid, we can debate the morality of using mortal weapons as the son of a Greek deity later, Naruto said. He peered past Malcolm and lifted his right hand up. The gun within it fired and a monkey-like monster fell to the ground as it leapt at the same girl from the night before, Claris. Saved from a monkey, a bull, and a cyclops. Percy ticked off his fingers. Ares ground his teeth as he seethed. She glared at him, but Naruto turned his attention to Malcolm. What are they? Niseoi satyrs, Malcolm said with a frown. What? Percy blinked. There's monster satyrs. Yep. Annabeth nodded. Go figure. It obviously didn't like guns. These things are satyrs? Naruto asked. He turned and fired at another Niseoi that tried to get the jump on him. Rare, island-born, Malcolm said. They don't usually come inland. Of course now they would come. Thalia huffed, stupid monkeys. Let it be said that she did not like Planet of the Apes. Gave her bad dreams as a kid. Well, guess what? Today's our lucky day. Naruto turned and walked into the fray, calm as he put a hole in each satyr that leapt at him. Over their hoots and hollers, Naruto yelled. Kurama. Unleash the wrath of Ares on these things. Activation code. Slaughter. Yay. Slaughter. My favorite adjective. He knows what that means, right? Hermes whispered to Athena. I doubt it. The wisdom goddess returned with a roll of her eyes. Kurama stopped where it was before it shifted and changed. The sleek, slightly menacing fox curled up into a large ball and suddenly jutted bronze spikes out of its surface. With a few final clicks and whirs, Kurama started to spin. Dirt was kicked up as it did before the death ball started to rip its way through the ground and shred any poor monster that got in its way. Ball of Doom. Lame. Jason rejected Leo's name. Spikes of Anarchy. Meh. Well, what do you got? A-ball, like a Beyblade, but better. Damn. Leo cursed. That was good. Throughout all of this, Naruto continued to keep the Niseoi away from the boundary line while the other demigods recovered. There were a good couple dozen of them out of Kurama's range, so it kept Naruto busy for a few minutes. One managed to bite his arm before he shot it point blank in the head. Ugly buggers, he said under his breath. Another jumped at him with its mouth open and he shoved the barrel of his Colt into the orifice. Say ah. Bitches. Ares added with a grin. Bang, one less Niseoi. They capitalized on Naruto when his clips ran out. Naruto spun his guns around and used them like blunt weapons to knock them away. When he had a few seconds, he ejected the clips and tucked his guns into the back of his belt. Naruto pulled two more clips out from the strap on his right thigh and slammed them into place. He pulled his guns back out and grinned beneath his bandana. Round 2. Yippee-yo-ka, you mother scratchers. Frank declared. His father glared at him. At least say it right. The skirmish lasted another 5 minutes before Kurama came to a stop and unrolled. Naruto emptied his clips and reloaded the handguns calmly, despite the feeling of eyes on him. When he finished, he tucked the two weapons into the back of his belt and flipped the safeties back on before he faced the armored demigods behind him. The golden brow arched up. What are you all staring at? Dude, can I get one of those? Cold classic. Hermes winked. Richard, Malcolm said to the boy. Richard shrugged. What? That was awesome. And a lot easier than swinging a sword. Why don't we use guns or lasers? Leo asked. Because of the days of old, Zhu said firmly. Ooh. Leo frowned. Didn't Cabin 6 have them in their shed? Piper asked. Yeah, but they kind of just sit there sometimes. Annabeth answered. Trust me, there's more skill in using a blade than shooting a gun, Naruto said. He ignored the quizzical looks he received and walked towards Kurama, who gathered the rewards dropped by the fuzzballs that attacked them. Once he reached the machine's side, Naruto patted it on the head. Have fun. Kurama barked and leaned into Naruto's hand. Naruto's eyes glistened in the same bliss Kurama displayed. Oh, he gets off on the kill, too. Ares asked eagerly. Oh boy. Hephaestus palmed his face. Yeah, and to think, this was just the first day, he said. Oh yes, Naruto was glad to be back at camp. Things just got real. Leo whistled. Oh yeah, Percy nodded, he wondered what was going to happen when he got into the story. Who's next? Piper asked as she turned the page. Another one? Percy asked as the screen changed to show the number 3. He was a little irked now. Seriously, how many Narutos are there? What's it called? Frank asked. Ruthless aggression. Piper told him. Ares? The Olympians deduced dryly. Woohoo. The war god cheered. He pointed at the sole Canadian present. Zhang, read, now. Why me? Because you're my kid, so do it. Frank groaned as he took the book from Piper and started to read. Bet him. And it's all downhill from here, Athena said. Ah. It's obviously a fight scene. Ares' grin widened. An excellent way to start a chapter. I didn't know you knew the word excellent. SHH, violence is happening. His bandaged fist slammed against a cheek. The punched man flew back and splintered a wooden table beneath his weight. The sole of his boot was driven into a gut and the sorry bastard that tried to grab him from behind stumbled back into the bar. He lifted his arm to block the attempted haymaker and shattered the attacker's nose with a straight. This was such a pain in the ass. You son of a. The bottle was brought down on his head and shattered on the impact. He glared at the man that had doused him in cheap alcohol and broke a perfectly good bottle over his head. That poor bottle. Dionysus wept. He grabbed the jackass that broke the bottle by the front of his shirt and lifted him up over his head with both hands. He turned and tossed him at the steel pole that the night stripper was supposed to use. All he wanted was a drink and some entertainment. Grab this motherfucker. Bad words. Hazel shook his head. The hand latched onto his arm and he grabbed it, crushing the bones in his grasp. He pulled the assailant closer and drove his shoulder into the pit of the assailants. With a bit of force, there was a loud crack that was quickly followed by a scream. An impromptu judo toss had the man landing through another table. Now he was going to get blacklisted again. I hate when that happens, then I gotta kill someone. Ares groaned. So much is wrong with that statement. Apollo shook his head. Fuck you. The chair smashed into his back and broke. That was irritating. He turned and grabbed the head of the bastard that smashed the chair into him. He reared his head back and brought it forward, his thick skull slammed into the man's own with a loud sickening crunch. Something broke and it wasn't just the Dumbus's nose. Brain damage? Nico asked. Leo whistled. Big time. This would be the 19th strip bar he'd be banned from in this state. Shame, too. Some of these girls were hot. Worthy of being in Aphrodite's cabin, for sure. Ugh, such a demeaning place. Artemis sneered. There are plenty of male strip joints. Apollo rolled his eyes. Such a prude. I don't know whether to take it as a compliment or an insult. Aphrodite gave a confused frown. Insult? Piper scowled. She did not want to be associated with a stripper in any way. Come on tough guy, come on. A knife slashed across his chest and cut a hole into his tap-out MMA shirt. Son of a bitch. His eyes flashed red and he grabbed the wrist of the man with the knife. His hand closed around it until bone splintered and the knife was dropped. He caught the knife, a switchblade of about maybe 8 inches, and dropped the man with a sweep of his leg. He moved the broken wrist to rest above the man's head and stabbed the switchblade into the palm. Ares' cabin everybody. Percy remarked dryly. Ah. My hand. Baby. That was nothing. Try having a hellhound's jaw digging into your shoulder. Or a black bear biting your arm. Or a fucking deer kicking you in the head when you're 6 years old. That shit hurt. I know. Ares rubbed his chin as he glared at Artemis. You deserved it. I hit on your hunter one time. Because your pillow buddy told you to. The huntress scoffed while Aphrodite whistled innocently. Note to self. His voice was dry, he didn't even get to start his drink before these machismos jumped him. Find a 12-point buck and kick it in the head. Then snap its neck. The best not. Artemis shouted. Do it. Ares argued. Oh gods. Frank and Thalia groaned. Ah. My hand. Red eyes glared down at the whimpering guy pulling at the knife. He grabbed the man's head and slammed it hard into the floor. The baby was knocked out instantly. Something cold and metallic pressed against the back of his head, it felt like a small pipe, but he knew better. He lifted his arms in surrender when there was a click of a hammer being cocked. Not so tough now, huh, Blondie? It was the guy he punched into a table earlier. Seems he really took offense to being called an inbred dumbus that couldn't tell when to leave well enough alone. You're gonna die tonight, you son of a bitch. I'm gonna blow your brains out. I'd really appreciate it if you didn't call me that, he said, his hand still up in the air. What? A son of a bitch? Well, tell you what, you son of a bitch, after I kill you. I'm gonna look your mama up and fuck her brains out like a real man, the gunman said, a bit of pride in his words. Wow, he is just asking for it. Frank blinked with wide eyes. If that had been him, the dude would be barefoot. Fuck him up. Ares? Hera frowned at the scowling war god. Wow, that's what? The 8th time he's heard some dumb bastard say that. Amazing how it always manages to piss him off, you would think he would have grown some thicker skin by now. Unfortunately for the gunman, he hadn't. He turned and grabbed the gun, a small 6-shooter that looked smaller in the fat fucker's hand. He yanked it from the gunman's grasp before the trigger was pulled and turned it around. The gunman looked flabbergasted if that was the right word, vocabulary was never his strong suit. Grunts are usually more common in his vocabulary. Athena mocked irritably. You're just pissy that mine's cooler than yours. You're delusional. Ares, Athena, settle down. Hestia told the two war deities. And even a little afraid. Red eyes burned intensely and feral whisker-like markings pulled back as he growled. You know, all I wanted was to drink a beer and watch some nice-looking girl dance on the stage. He pressed the barrel of the still-cocked gun against the one-time gunman's temple and watched sweat form. Whimpers, please escape the wanted tough guy, a thug that wanted to wave his around like it was the biggest one in the joint. So Ares every Sunday? Hermes asked. I don't wave it around the dinner table. Ares shook his head. Yeah, that's Fridays at the Cherry Bomb. Fuck you, Sunspot. Red eyes narrowed in disgust. Did you just piss yourself? Sobs left the man. Now I have to kill you. That's just embarrassing, especially for a real man like yourself. Place PL please. No. No. But aren't you a real man? So he should die like one? Jason asked. Ares nodded. How the world works. He's deluded. Hera frowned. And then no. No. Please. I don't want to die. He hissed in disgust and moved the gun down to rest at the man's damp groin. Don't want to die, huh? That is evil. Percy gaped. Ares grinned. That means it's good, Jackson. No. No. Bang. The man shuddered and slumped to the ground, his eyes went to the hole in his thigh before he screamed. Aw, he should have popped one. Ares whined. Ugh, gross. Frank grimaced as he turned the page. Shut up boy, you could learn something here. Frank highly doubted that. Red eyes rolled as they dimmed down from his anger to a cool blue. He dropped the gun on the counter and reached into his back pocket. A couple of $50 bills were left for the cowering bartender. That's for the damage. He grabbed an unopened, undamaged bottle from behind the counter and went to the exit. Sorry for the trouble. He stopped at the door and looked at the wailing gunman. Oh, and I'm not offended by being called a son of a bitch, I'm a proud son of the bitch. Aw, we feel the same. Ares smiled kindly at his mother. I swear I will end you one day, Ares. Love you too, Ma. He left the strip bar and popped the cap off of his beer, taking a swig before he grimaced. He tossed the bottle to the side and walked over to his car, a '67 Pontiac GTO convertible. He pulled off his doused and ruined shirt. He tossed it into the back seat with a frown on his face. He really liked that shirt. The outline of the words were orange. Yep, it's really Naruto. Piper sighed. Orange this, orange that, the identity of Naruto as a whole. He turned the keys in the ignition and pulled out of the gravel-filled drive. It wasn't until the tires hit asphalt that he floored. He looked in the rearview mirror and gave himself a once-over for injuries. Hand skin was unblemished, unmarked, and except for the jagged feral whiskers on his cheeks, a reminder of his stupidity when he was a kid, there wasn't a scratch on him. That's my boy. Frank had a pout on his face. This was so not cool. Hazel just patted his shoulder consolingly. His hair, however, usually blonde and unruly, was now damp and smelled like cheap alcohol. Gross. To distract himself from his soon-to-be sticky head, he cranked up the volume of the radio, his head nodded to the hard rock that woke everyone in the vicinity. Alia bobbed her head. I can get behind this. That's what she said. Alia, no. Jason said. He held his sister back before she could kick Leo's teeth in. Alia struggled in her brother's arms. I hate that joke. I figured. Just relax. Leo, stop laughing. I can't. Leo chuckled more. Not that there were a lot of people he could bother in the empty desert. Movement caught his eye and he barely managed to slam on the brakes as something swooped at him from the front. He ducked down and covered his head, shifting the gears and putting the car in park as he did. Something pressed down with a thump on his hood and he looked up to see a girl, probably a few years younger than him, no more than 17 but no less than 15, with a glistening silver arrow nocked on her silver bow. A hunter? Nico blinked. Thou art my target, Griffin. Come and face death as only prey can. Oh. Percy and Thalia chuckled. Well, at least we know when this takes place. Artemis mumbled with a soft look. The arrow shot from her bow with a twang and he turned to follow it. It tore through the black wings of the monster it was aimed at. A black mass fell from the sky and landed roughly off the side of the road. He arched a brow and looked back at the girl. Nice shot. She aimed an arrow at him. Wow, rude? Piper asked. Bitch much? What? Artemis frowned. It is a bitch move. Aphrodite commented. The huntress glared at her rival. Thou are lucky that my lady requires me at camp. The girl scoffed as she lowered her bow and walked across the hood of his car, something that was extremely irksome. You know, I forget how much of a rude little brat she is. Apollo confessed, which got him a look from his twin. Hey, truth god. I'm not going to lie here. Thank you Apollo, Aphrodite cheered with a smile. No prob. Artemis scowled. Towards the fallen monster. Camp? Last I checked, camp was 40-something hundred miles that away, he said, pointing towards the northeast. The girl turned and glared at him for a moment before she returned to approaching the griffin. She pinned it to the ground with another arrow. Be happy thou are not my target, man. I must hurry and hunt the rest of the pack before I return to my lady. What, are you preparing for a role in a play? He asked. She would have done pretty good. Percy snickered as Thalia could barely hold back her own laughter. He opened his car door and stepped out to look the vehicle over while his rock continued to blast. Turn that trash off. He looked up at the girl's cry with a scowl. Now she was dissing his music. Oh, no. Fuck that shit. Ares cheered. Fuck her up. The best not. Artemis thundered. Nightshade needs her peg knocked down. I understand you're all for girl power, Artemis, I am as well. But she was on such a high horse. Athena commented. A humbling would have done her some good. You tend to spoil your hunters. Artemis colored at her own sister betraying her on this. Listen, bitch, he said with a growl as he stormed around the hood of his car towards her. She had gained her own face of fury for the derogatory term he used. It was actually kind of cute but he couldn't really appreciate that at the moment. What's this? Aphrodite tilted her head, a smile gracing her lips. Artemis frowned. Never going to happen. Now, this is Naruto after all. Even if he's Ares. Yeah. Wait, what's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Aphrodite waved the question off with a smile while Artemis looked worried. You were chasing a monster, I can deal with you running on my ride. You're a hunter, so I can deal with you dissing me because of my gender. But you don't ever, and I fucking mean never, diss my tunes. Really not cool. Apollo frowned. What does thou plan to do about it, man? Amazing how a general term for a human sex could sound worse than a slur. Thalia rubbed her face. It still amazes me that a lot of the hunters think it is one. I am so glad you aren't a feminazi. Jason told her. Trust me, I'll never be that bad. Leo snorted. The dark glare you gave me begs to differ. What was that, elf boy? Nothing. I'm going to break that pretty bow of yours over your head. Her black eyes narrowed and the pretty bow was aimed at him with an arrow at the ready. I'd like to see thou try it. He growled and reached into his pockets with both hands, a set of brass knuckles slipped around his fingers before he pulled his fists out. Red eyes glared into hard black, their forms illuminated by the light of Artemis's moon. She released the bow and he ducked under the arrow. The sound of glass shattering made him realize that she'd hit his car. Fucker. Now she's just asking for a spanking. Phrasing. Aphrodite tittered at Ares' words. Artemis looked ready to explode at the couple. Then yo. He cried as he swung a right cross at her head and bronze gauntlets with spiked knuckles suddenly covered his hands. Faces of pained men howled on the back of his hands as she avoided his punch. The wails made the girl to cover her ears and roll away, more distance now between them. Scream gauntlets. That's intriguing. Hephaestus confessed with a touch of interest. For close range that's devastating one-on-one combat. Annabeth looked impressed. He started to turn in order to face her properly, one didn't put their back to an enemy, but turned and swung with a powerful left cross at the monster that leapt at him. The spiked knuckles shattered the griffin's beak and the power behind his punch snapped the griffin's neck. The black panther-like body crumpled to the ground, the wings twitched once before it dissolved to dust. He's got some muscle, whoa. Leo blinked and gave Frank a quick look of worry. Some hunter. He couldn't help it, he felt like it had to be said. Call it the war god in him. The master antagonizer's voice was always barking demands in his ear. Frank suddenly felt kinship at once with this Naruto. Talk about a head case. Hermes grinned. Meh. Percy told him. You kids just don't get good comedy. The messenger god frowned. Occasionally, the god's favorite poem chanted in his head. Whenever you fight, you better always win. 'Cause the second you don't, I'm gonna kick your head in. My greatest quote. Ares nodded. Frank looked at his friends and mouthed, help me. Let it be known that Ares was not the father of the year. Then again, it could be said that no god would ever hold that title. Personally, he couldn't give two shits if one did or didn't. He lived by his father's words, the motto of Cabin 5. It was a kill or be killed world he lived in. And he fucking loved every second of it. USA. USA. Ares whooped. Even when the arrow was shot into his ass. I think that's an Artemisism for a proposal. It is not. Artemis colored greatly at that while the god snickered or laughed. Or fumed in Zeus's case. Ow. Fuck. Take a joke, bitch. Our lucky I didn't aim for thy head. The hunter's glare only built onto his anger while he pried the arrow out of his ass. That was the 5th time that happened to him. Stupid arrows. Maybe it's because you have too big of a butt. Leo smirked. Hey. Frank frowned. I wasn't sniping at you, dude. That or not. Like you'd hit it, he said scathingly as he looked the arrow over. He held it out with a smirk. Here, something to remember me by. The hunter sneered at him. Pig. I'd love some, but all I've got on me is dried beer. He tossed the arrow behind him uncaringly and grunted as he walked back to his car. Our disgusting. And you're a bitch, so I guess we're even. So really was the princess of Mount Bitchdom. Apollo confirmed. No, she wasn't. She was kind of forceful, Lady Artemis. Thalia told her. She couldn't lie, while Zoe was a good person, rest her spirit in the stars. She just had the ability to rub people the wrong way like a child of Ares. He bent over the passenger door and reached into the glove compartment to grab some nectar he kept in case he ever got injured. The gauntlets on his hands disappeared and returned to their hidden brass knuckle form. He popped the top off the bottle and grabbed his ruined shirt. Thank Olympus he took that field medic training Chiron offered. It made recovering from embarrassing injuries so much easier. He dampened the fabric with nectar before he put the top back on the bottle. Thou art I should kill thee. Someone's at a loss words. Piper smirked. She got angry rather quick. Thalia shook her head. Better women than you have tried. Most were better shots, too. He snickered at the aggravated growl the hunter released. Ah, this one had to be a veteran if she wasn't already filling him full of arrows. He'd never seen her when the hunters of Artemis were at camp, or if he did, he certainly didn't recognize her. How could he not? The tiara gives it away. Percy pointed at Thalia's head. It's like a beacon. It is not. Thalia frowned at him. I think it looks nice, Jason said. Stop being a suck-up, Jay. He sighed as he applied the nectar-soaked fabric to the bleeding hole in his ass. Chalk up another boon to being a demigod. He got to heal himself before it got too painful or the adrenaline wore off. Mortals could suck his fat one, being a demigod kicked ass. So, what brings a bitchy hunter to the middle of fucking nowhere, USA? Such language. Hestia frowned. And I have to read it. Frank sighed. Ares glared at him. Just read, boy. He turned and pressed the nectar and alcohol-soaked fabric into the wound as he leaned against his car with his arms crossed over his bare chest. Starting to get cold. Must almost be 2 in the morning if he was getting goosebumps. The hunter's eye twitched and her jaw clenched. She crossed her arms and huffed. What reason should I get? I am better off killing thee for the planet. I bet she's done it before, Nico said scathingly. Artemis didn't retort to that one. I should give you my name for the tombstone then. Name's Naruto. Spelled like this. Naruto tapped on his left shoulder, where the kanji for his name was inked into his arm. Naruto. What sort of nonsense is that? The hunter scoffed. She stuck her slightly upturned nose into the air. Sounds like an oriental name. Thou art not from the Orient. Wow, racist. Frank asked with a frown. He took serious offense to that. He got more my looks. Bitch, Ares sang. Artemis looked like she wanted to club him with her bow. Says you. It means maelstrom, Naruto said with a smirk. Maelstrom of kick-ass. The hunter rolled her eyes. Thou art no different than any other man. She makes it sound like we all came from the same place. Leo rolled his eyes. That's up for debate. Thalia smirked at him. Tika, you so cold. I need a snuggie to warm up. Oh, believe me, sweetheart. I'm plenty different from other men. The hunter gave him a look of disgust and Naruto responded with a blown kiss. She opened her mouth to retort but the sound of a shrieking roar cut her off. The two looked up and Naruto grinned as his eyes flashed red at the sight of several more griffins. Well, friends of yours, sweetheart. Do not call me sweetheart, pig. I want bacon now. Ares frowned. Seriously, can she came up with a better insult? My kids could do way better. No, she can't. Thalia snickered. The hunter snarled at him and she drew an arrow back. It flew up at the griffins at a great speed, but the black-furred and feathered monsters easily avoided it. The hunter cursed. I hadn't thought the nestlings would have grown so quickly so far south. Who cares how fast they grew? They want to fight and they got it. Naruto ran away from his car, he really didn't want to go through the trouble of stealing another muscle car and grinned as several branched from the flock, or was it pack? Whatever, they were chasing him and that's all that mattered. Naruto turned and faced the griffins with his right fist brought back. His eyes gleamed an excited red that burned more intensely than the griffin's own. Come on, birdie. You want some? Come get some. Do not taunt them, fool. The hunter yelled after him as she staved off the three that flew circles around her. She had some neat moves with those hunting knives of hers. She was one of the best. Artemis eyed out. I think I could have taken her, Thalia said. I think you just wanted to fix your bruised ego. Percy commented, earning an irked look from Thalia. And yo. Naruto threw his right fist forward seconds before the griffin's raven-like talons could reach out to grab him. Like the last griffin, Naruto's gauntlet-covered hand won out over the beak and neck. The black beak cracked and splintered from the spikes in Naruto's gauntlet. The head was forced down, driven into the dirt, while the kinetic speed forced Naruto back several feet. Mega punch. Nico looked impressed. Seems so, Hazel said. She wondered if Frank could do that and her cheeks colored. That would be sort of cool. He grinned and looked at the other two griffins that roared at him as they flapped their wings. Come on then, let's dance. Naruto turned at the hip with his right hand over his shoulder, fingers curled into a fist. His red eyes narrowed and he coiled up just a bit further. He wasn't a son of Athena, but he knew that speed plus strength equaled a whole lot of pain. He's a real genius. You did not just say that. Athena frowned at her war-loving brother. And much like a compressed spring being released gave off a lot of force, Naruto's spinning backfist punch sent the griffin soaring back the way it came. He even gave a smirk to the hunter after his griffin collided into one of hers. Oh, he's playing with fire now. Percy chuckled. Hey. Leo frowned. That's my line, dude. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. Leo just glared at the son of Poseidon. Another shrieking roar had Naruto turned to the side, where the third griffin of his group had decided to stop flying and tried to pounce on him. Naruto caught the talons in his hands and fell back. He drove his boots into the griffin's stomach and flipped the hybrid monster over him to land on its back and wings. Naruto reared his legs over his head and kipped up, a rather useful ability he learned from his time in camp. Next, Kung Fu 101. Annabeth bowed her head. Yes, Grandmaster Chase. Piper bowed her head, leading the girls to laugh. I'd be interested in that. Reina smirked at the two, one that Annabeth returned while Piper started to sweat a bit. Naruto faced the griffin as it got back to its feet and the two began to circle each other. Naruto kept his hands out wide while the griffin hissed and brought its wings up to appear larger. Naruto bared his teeth and snarled back at it. He was an instinctive fighter at heart, so it was easy to perform the "I'm a scarier predator than you are" dance. Percy cocked his head. Huh, so that's what that look means. Mars kids have it too, Jason said. He gained a perplexed look. Not Frank, though. The muscle-bound teenager shrugged. I don't see the need for it. The griffin lost its patience first and leapt at him. Naruto brought his fist back at the ready, his other arm up to catch the monster's weight. He was severely disappointed when the griffin exploded into dust before it hit him. Naruto glared sourly at the hunter, her smirk proud and haughty as she lowered her bow. Our welcome, she said. Naruto's glare didn't let up, even though his red eyes turned back to blue. You bitch. That was my kill. First come, first serve. Artemis sniffed. Such a rude boy. That is thy problem, not mine. The hunter smirked at him once more before she began to collect the trophies the griffins left behind. Black fur pelts with feathers in them. What a lame reward, why not a golden egg? Naruto wouldn't mind raising his own griffin. That is so hard to do, greedy little things, Apollo said. Like shiny stuff too much. They wouldn't lay off me. Hermes chuckled. That was a fun day. Naruto grabbed the pelts of the griffins and threw them over his shoulder. He carried them back to the hunter and tossed them into her arms. She stumbled from the added weight and glared at him as he crossed his arms. There you go, sweetheart. Don't say I never got you nothing, Naruto said with a smirk. He walked back towards his car, only to stop and stare in disbelief. Silver arrows lined the entire left side of his car, the two tires flat and long deflated. Even the poor car scent dispenser had not been spared. Okay, you were bitchy. Apollo frowned, earning a glare from his twin. No, seriously, that is. If you ever did that to my ride, I would seriously be pissed at you and not in a joking way. Naruto rounded on the hunter with murder in his eyes. Do you know what you've done? What? Did something happen to thy automobile? She asked innocently. The smirk on her face killed the fantasy of any real remorse he thought she might have had. What a shame. Perhaps they should ensure it isn't in the way of Crossfire next time they gets into a fight. Skin her. I agree. Aphrodite cheered on her angered boyfriend. I doubt he could. Artemis scoffed. Naruto lifted his hands menacingly, as though he was going to strangle her, before he brought them down to his sides and seethed. You fucking bitch. The hunter glared at him and dropped the pelts. She stormed up to him and, before he could lift his arms, punched him square in the nose with a solid left punch. Naruto's head flew back and he grunted as he lost his footing. His head and recently healed ass hit the pavement, which elected a strangled yowl that he managed to choke down. Naruto held a hand over his nose and grunted when a silver boot stomped onto his stomach. Stop. Stomp. Calling. Stomp. Me. Stomp. Bay. Stomp. Bitch. Bitch. Even your son isn't that stupid. Athena chuckled as she enjoyed the sight. Aelia shook her head. Zoe did have poor people skills. He deserved it. Artemis huffed. Aelia just shrugged, Zoe sort of started it. The hunter huffed and gave him a final kick to the side before she stormed back over to the pelt she had dropped. Naruto groaned and rolled onto his uninjured side. He snorted blood from his nose and forced it back into place with a grunt before he got up and glared at the retreating hunter. Naruto turned, reached into his car, and grabbed the bottle of nectar. God fucking damn it. Naruto threw the cracked bottle at the ground, shattering the empty bottle on the street. He sent another glare to the hunter and debated whether or not he should try to kill her. Not worth it, Percy said. I think she could use a slap. Piper frowned. Why? Annabeth asked as Aphrodite beamed at her baby. She's just so rude. I get that you guys are supposed to hate men. But acting like a child about it. It's juvenile. Piper explained. Well, they do stay as little girls for the rest of their lives. So, immaturity is sort of going to happen, Jason said. Little girls. Thalia frowned. Artemis looked irked by that logic. And coming from one of Aphrodite's daughters made it hurt even more. Deciding that it wasn't worth Artemis's wrath to get into another fight with the bitch, Naruto wrapped his arm around his side to steady his cracked ribs and began to hobble off towards his current home. His grandmother was going to throw another fit when she saw him stumble back into his house, covered in blood. Again. Did you kill this time? Nobody, Granny. Leo said with a chuckle. Where dost thou think they are going? Oh, what the fuck do you want now? Naruto roared as he rounded on the hunter. She was carrying the pelts over her left shoulder and her bow was nowhere in sight. A glare was still on her face and it took all the self-control he had, which was not a lot, to not punch her back. You wanna kill me? You wanna keep fighting? Because those are the only reasons I can think of that would make you want to talk to me. The hunter rolled her eyes. If I didn't have to speak with thou, believe me I wouldn't. However, she shifted uncomfortably. Thou art the only demigod around and thou is sure to have more nectar and ambrosia at thy home. Ooh-oh. Aphrodite smiled. Miss High and Mighty Godanuchi. Stop that. Artemis frowned. Stop what? That your girls aren't perfect. Enough, ladies, please. Hestia asked tiredly. The two goddesses huffed at each other but did stop their bickering. What? You don't have any? Bullshit. Naruto snorted in disbelief, ignoring the pain in his shattered nose. He watched the hunter as an uncomfortable grimace crossed her face. An amused yet annoyed smirk crossed his face. No fucking way. Be silent. You don't have any nectar or ambrosia. Naruto chuckled. His chuckling turned into pained laughter. Oh ho, it hurts to laugh. But it's the best kind of laugh. Ares chuckled. I thought Zoe's motto was to always be prepared. Thalia knitted her brow. Isn't that the Boy Scouts? Percy innocently asked. The hunter laughed dryly but still smirked since it was a decent joke. Cease thy amusement. The hunter snarled. She grimaced and shifted her right shoulder. Naruto glanced at it and saw a deep gash. A piece of cloth was tied over the wound but it had already bled through. Naruto grimaced as he debated his next move. On one hand, he did what his father's instincts were telling him to do and to leave the bitch high and dry. Ares approved, the war god said with 2 thumbs up. But risked Artemis's wrath if he did so. Fear the Jacalops, Artemis said coldly. On the other hand, he risked his father's wrath if he tried to help the girl. Weighing the odds in his head, eventually even the voice that sounded like Ares started to tell him that Artemis was much more frightening than the god of war. Smart boy. The hunter smirked. I beg to differ, but in this case it would seem so. Athena agreed. Damn brat. Ares grunted. Naruto turned and resumed his trek home. He got several feet before he stopped and glared over his shoulder at the hunter. You coming or what? The hunter scowled back at him before she quickly caught up to him. They walked in silence for the next 2 miles until they made it into the small town that he called home in Macquarie, Texas. "Heyo to my peeps." Leo waved. "Where are the people?" the hunter asked as they walked through the town square. "I thought the entire country had been populated by man." "Like I said, sweetheart," Naruto said with a small bitter smile as he led the hunter towards his home. "Middle of fucking nowhere, USA. We got bars, cars, farms and tars, and that's it. Maybe 200 people in this town. Couple dozen out in the farms. And there's the Macquarie family, owners of the town property." The hunter scowled at him. "Thou will not address me as sweetheart. Well, you haven't really given me anything else to call you, sweetheart. It's either that or bye." "Sweetheart sounds lovely, even if it's wasted on that uppity nightshade." Aphrodite sniffed in distaste. "If thou finishes that sentence, thou will know the pain Zeus felt when his sinews were torn from him." Zeus blanched. He still had nightmares about that. "Gross." Percy wrinkled his nose. "Point taken, but you still haven't told me your name," Naruto pointed out. The hunter's scowl became more prominent as she thought about telling a male her name. "I am Zo Nightshade, lieutenant of Lady Artemis's hunters." "Nightshade?" Naruto asked, amused. He shook his head as he pushed the door to a 2-story house open. "And you say my name is weird?" He walked into the house. "I'm back. My name is strange," Zo said with a glower. She followed him into the entry hall and through the small living room to the kitchen. There was shuffling above them, which made Zo look up. "Thou does not live alone." "He's got as sweet as a button granny," Leo declared. "You've got to learn how to speak English." "I tried to tell her that." Thalia shook her head. Naruto said as he stumbled into the kitchen. He winced as he reached up into a cabinet and began to look around. "Oh, come the fuck on, stupid fucking old people. Stop messing with the layouts. Putting more fucking medication in the fucking cabinet. Goddamn, drug-addicted motherfucking." Zo scowled at him. "Thy mouth needs a cleansing with a fresh bar of soap." "That's long-winded, but I agree with her." Hestia nodded sternly. "Bite me." Naruto shot back. He grinned when he pulled his hand back and held a plastic bag of ambrosia. "Score." Naruto set the bag on the ground and opened it up. Before he could pull a cube out, he froze when footsteps stomped down the stairs. Naruto closed the bag and shoved it back into the cabinet. "Naruto. Do you have any fucking idea of what time it is, you dumb piece of shit?" "Real sweet, huh, Leo?" Piper asked. Leo just shrugged. Zo's mouth was agape at the language while Naruto hurriedly grabbed more modern medication and pulled it out. He paused for a moment before he slapped the pelts off of Zo's shoulder. The hunter glared at him, but Naruto ignored it as he tucked his brass knuckles into his pockets and then fumbled with the painkiller's lid. "Just what the fucking hell do you think you're doing at this hour, goddammit?" Naruto turned to look at the old woman that stood in the doorway. Her hair was a platinum blonde, once a beautiful shade like his own, but now far less so. She smelled like an old folks' home, a hospital, and alcohol. Her honey-brown eyes narrowed in suspicion and her hand tightened around the handle of her cane. "Are you trying to steal from your granny again?" "No," the demigod said. They did not like the look of that cane. "No, Granny Tsunade." Naruto rolled his eyes and set the bottle painkillers on the counter. "Go back to sleep, you stupid old hag." "Back to sleep? Oh, no, dipshit, I'm up now." Granny Tsunade did a double take when she saw Zo. She turned back and glared at Naruto. "And who the fuck is she?" "Who?" The old woman's cane came down and nearly cracked Naruto's skull open. "Ow. You fucking crazy old bitch." Naruto whimpered as he held his abused skull. Granny Tsunade scowled at him and wagged her cane threateningly. "Lying to your own grandmother. Your mother must be getting a noose ready in her cell." "Ninja waifu is in jail." Apollo thundered. He glared at Ares. "This is your fault." "It's always my fault." "That's bullshit, man." Naruto glared at the old woman. "Stupid old hag. Ungrateful little shit." Granny Tsunade glared right back before she looked at the other occupant of the kitchen. "Well. Speak up, girl. Who are you?" "Zo Nightshade, ma'am." Naruto smirked at the hunter's apprehension. No one fucked with Granny Tsunade, not even Ares. The war god blinked. "What?" And he tried to. The god of war wound up chewing on his bike's handlebars. "Wow, to a granny Ares, just wow." Apollo bit his fist as Hermes fell out of his throne in laughter. "That's just sad. I feel shame for you." Athena remarked with a quirked lip. Ares gnashed his teeth at them as he seethed. "Nightshade? The hell kind of name is that? You an Indian?" Granny Tsunade inquired, squinting her eyes as she looked over the girl. "Racist?" Piper frowned. "They're called Native American, you dumb old hag." Naruto grumbled as he got back to his feet. He sucked in air when the cane was whacked against his cracked rib. "Gah. Sadistic old bitch. That is evil." Percy shuddered. He was glad his mom never did that to him. "Stop being a rude little shit." Don't you know that you gotta watch your mouth when there's a lady in the house? Granny Tsunade scolded with another whack from her cane. And the sheriff called. I thought I told you to stop getting into fights. Fuck. Ow. Senile. Crazy. Ow. Bitch. I didn't. Shit. Start it. Naruto shot back as he tried to protect himself from her cane. You did something. Granny Tsunade scowled at the blonde young adult as she stopped her assault and then looked back at Zoe. She noticed the wound on her shoulder and rounded on Naruto. Her eyes were harder than steel, but ablaze with rage. Did you cut this girl, boy? He wished somewhat. Percy snarked. Naruto's eyes went wide and color left his skin. He may have tried to fight Zoe earlier, but he was running off adrenaline and anger. Clear-headed, he'd never get into a physical fight with any girl without any witnesses. What Granny Tsunade would do to him if she found out he ever did. Naruto's skin paled even faster as he shook his head. And no ma'am. I love that look. Hera smiled. You do it all the time. Ares muttered with a shiver. Then why is she bleeding? Granny Tsunade's eyes were murderous. Car accident. Naruto blurted out before Zoe could speak. We got into a car accident. My fault. I should have watched where I was going. It was the girl's fault. Leo snorted. Jumping on a dude's ride. Not cool. Granny Tsunade's cane struck his cracked rib again and she nodded firmly while Naruto crumpled to the ground, shuddering in pain. Damn right. The old woman turned and gave a soft smile to Zoe. Come along dear, I'll get that looked at and fix it up in a jiffy. Zoe tried to pull away as Granny Tsunade grabbed her arm. Oh, no, thank you, but I just need some Amber, she just needs some amber, Naruto said quickly, shooting the hunter a shut up or else glare. He cradled his rib as he got to his feet once more. Granny Tsunade's eyes were on him like a hawk. Blood loss has made her delusional. She's speaking with I and thou and thee. She hit her head. Thalia laughed. That's a good one. I am not delusional, thou art. Zoe began, only to be cut off by a cluck of Granny Tsunade's tongue. Probably some head trauma. Come along, dear. I'll show you to the couch. Naruto. Get yourself cleaned up and get some clothes for our guest. Granny Tsunade ordered as she led Zoe into the other room. Naruto scowled and matched Zoe's glare when it was sent his way. It wasn't like he wanted the stupid bitch of a hunter to stay in his home either. It's clearly a violation of her oath. Oh well. The love goddess sighed. Looks like you'll have to make her another furry Artemis. I do not turn people into furries. Sure you don't. Naruto, get your ass moving. Yes, Granny Tsunade. And again, it wasn't like he was going to argue about it. Naruto groaned as he went to the back toward his room to grab some spare clothes. He frowned as he walked past a hanging portrait of a red-haired woman in military fatigues, standing behind a blonde boy with a swollen black eye, both smiling at the camera. Wait, waifu is in the army, so why is waifu in jail? Apollo thought aloud. POW? Frank surmised with a big frown. Nailed it. Ares scowled deeply, that was the part of war he actually hated deeply. All he wanted to do tonight was have a drink and get some entertainment. Stupid hunter. Got that right, Nico said scathingly. Thalia gave him a look, but his glance just dared her to say something. Frank flopped the book down. Done. Hazel patted his shoulder with a small smile, one he returned. I think they'd be a cute couple. Aphrodite hummed. A coy smile spread across her face. Zaruto. Never. Artemis screamed. Never say any ver. What if Percy Jackson reading Naruto vs Sasuke here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.